afternoon. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice or watching me on any one of the social media platforms, Facebook or YouTube, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am your host on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Listen, let me get this out of the way. It's still Black History Month. Woody, I got your information. I am going to read it around the 3 o'clock hour because I promised. But right now I have a couple of really important guests that I want to get to before the 2 o'clock hour. And so let me do this first. Today is the free library and the recreation centers are closed for in-building services because of the snowstorm that we're having outside. And city buildings closed at noon today per the Mayor's Office of Communication. So I wanted to make sure that you were all aware of that. Please stay safe out there because it's raining, sleeting, and snowing all at one time. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was that today is the birthday of Audre Lorde and Toni Morrison. And Sarah Lomax Reese, the CEO of WURD Radio, sent two quotes that so resonated with me. I wanted to read them for you. Our future is ripe, outrageously rich in its possibilities. Yet unleashing the glory of that future will require a difficult labor, and some may be so frightened of its birth they will refuse to abandon their nostalgia for the womb. That was written by Toni Morrison, whose birthday is today. This one is from Audre Lorde. To refuse to participate in shaping of our future is to give it up. Do not be misled into passivity. See, this is hard for me with my Jamaican accent. Passivity, either by false security, they don't mean me, or by despair, there's nothing we can do. Each of us must find our work and do it. Militancy no longer means guns at high noon, if it ever did. It means actively working for change, sometimes in the absence of any surety that change is coming. It means doing the unromantic and tedious work necessary to forge meaningful coalitions, and it means recognizing which coalitions are possible and which coalitions are not. It means knowing that coalition, like unity, means the coming together of whole, self-actualized human beings, focused and believing, not fragmented automations marching to a prescribed step. It means fighting despair. Audre Lorde. So I wanted to thank Sarah Lomax Reese for sending those two quotes to us. But we're going to get ready and get the show started, shall we? I have the distinct pleasure. Today I'm interviewing two national figures in the first hour. The first one is Michael van der Veen. Michael effortlessly combines accessibility, experience, negotiation, collaboration, and compassion to achieve results. And he has named partners to the firm who value and demonstrates these tenets as well. He is the rare attorney who excels in both civil litigation and criminal defense. Known for his unwavering commitment to serving as the voice of the victim and the advocate for the accused, he has established his reputation by winning multi-million jury verdicts in state and federal courts, as well as winning major criminal trials. His most recent trial was the impeachment trial of Donald J. Trump. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm fine, and happy Black History Month. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you. I know that you've since come home and you're working through all the things that have been going on. I have a couple of questions for you. So this is Black Talk Media, and we wondered if what would happen after you did this impeachment. So here's my first question. You knew taking on this case would mean something for you in one way or the other. What made you take this particular case, given the fact that Donald J. Trump has been one of the most polarizing figures in recent human history? We had an insurrection which led to the second impeachment, and you knew it would not be easy on you to take this case. I know you knew this. So what made you take this case in the face of all of this that was going on?
It's my solemn obligation as a criminal defense lawyer and as a civil litigator to give zealous representation to clients that need me. With this client in particular, the chilling effect on his Sixth Amendment right to counsel by the pressure of the media and others, coupled with his own conduct, have made it very difficult for him to get a good lawyer. It was a no-brainer for me I mean, from a professional perspective, it was like trying to case in the Super Bowl. It was the Super Bowl of cases, and I was going to meet the challenge.
Okay, so you went, you laid out your case. You have faced major criticism. I mean, just all over the place, right? Your client, and I mean, we could talk about this.
I mean, I've gotten some criticism, and I've also gotten some praise. And in the end of the day, I did the best my firm could do, and we were pleased with the result.
Yes. Let me also say this, though, that you're right. At least 70 million people. There are plenty of people that continues to love and praise this this leader, our former leader. And so you knew going in that this was what was going to happen. Now let me ask you this: when you think about what you're facing now that you've gotten home, right? The Bar Association is giving you a hard time on some level. You know, the people have vandalized your home. What has it been like since you got home back to Pennsylvania? What has that reaction been like for you?
It's been pretty busy. I mean, you know, I've got a law firm to run, so I've had to really turn my attention back to all of my other clients. There's been a deluge of, you know, text messages and emails and all of that. The biggest difference is myself and my family now live under armed guard, so it's a little bit different like that. But the most impactful thing for me was learning that Washington D.C. is broken, and that the media, the large, powerful media, not real journalists like yourself, but the big national networks control Washington D.C.
Say more about that for me, please. Say more about when you say the media controls Washington D.C. Say more about that for me.
Sure. When I was down there, what I learned right away is that the representatives, the politicians, live on a news cycle, a 15-minute news cycle. They make decisions and make statements based on when it will be received through the media by the most amount of people. And I'm not saying the radio and the TV, actually. This is social media. They have it figured out. 220. Facebook usually gets a bump. So they will communicate with their constituents at that time. Twitter at 3:40 has an increase in usage, and they just that's the social media all day long, and they make decisions based on that. The media also controls the dialogue, the narrative. They decide what information we get and what we don't. And what I've discovered is that the left and the right are each equally as determined to control the dialogue and the free flow of information. It's a very powerful position they're in. And what they're doing is they're not fully informing the public. They're feeding on division, and the media on the left and the media on the right tell two completely different stories of the same event. They could wake up and see the sunrise. One outlet would say the sun rose at 6:50. The other one would say the sun never rose today. And it'd be at the same moment in time. And the reason why they do this is because they need to control the narrative. And the effect of it is that politicians, when dealing with their constituents, this is a politician on the left, his constituents are only getting half of the information, half of the story. The left and the right need to come a little bit closer to the middle to govern all of us right now. It's broken in such a polarized way. There needs to be a return. The media won't allow that because in order to the left to return to the middle and the right to return to the middle, their constituents need to be fully informed on the issues so that they can understand what coming to the middle means and why. But the media, for example, I did the Hannity show once. I did some of those more on the right side kind of shows. I did a local show once. Rachel Maddow, Anderson Cooper, and Cuomo all declined to have myself or anybody on the defense team on to talk about the trial, to talk about Washington, D.C., and to talk about the media's role in it. They declined. They froze our information out. They canceled it. They froze it out from being presented to the public. The right does the same thing. In this circumstance, it just happens to be the left doing it. But the right does it just as much equally. Like, there's plenty of blame to go around. But the media really needs to do a self-audit, a self-reflective inventory of what they're doing, what their priorities are, and just how much power they hold.
Agreed. Agreed. Let me say this to you. When I was approached with whether I would want to talk to you, it was a no-brainer for me, because just what you said is what came to my mind. If we only report the things that we care about or the things that matter to us the most and not hear other sides, we don't have to agree to have a conversation, right? And so for me, this was a no-brainer bringing you on so that we could talk. Let me ask you this. Before you took on Donald Trump's case, you had a legal 3 decades of $31 million judgment for a client who was rendered paraplegic. You did a $10 million settlement for child run over by a tractor trailer, also involving work with the U.S. Department of Immigration, and on and on and on. Now that you have represented Donald Trump, what do you think is next for your client, and what do you think is going to be next for you, given the polarizing nature of everything that took place while you were a part of his defense?
What's next for me is what would have been next for me if I didn't have the trial. It's just pick up the next case and do the absolute best that I can do. I don't think it's going to have any effect on my practice. All of my clients were very pleased with my advocacy. They know and want me to advocate as hard for them as I do every other client, as I did for Mr. Trump. And they've been very, 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 very supportive of me. They all know me. You know, I know every one of my clients. I talk to all my clients. I meet with all my clients. You know, it's a family. We're one big team together, and my firm provides a safe place for them. But I'll tell you what you might not know is my politics are complete opposite.
I do know that, which is why I could not understand how you ended up taking this case. I read that you had been a part of cases where you actually sued the president because of the post office. I've been reading all about you this morning. So that's why I wanted to know, you know, that if your politics are opposite, but you did say it. It was the Super Bowl of cases, and he had a hard time trying to find lawyers, and it just made sense for you to take it on.
And I have a solemn constitutional duty to provide representation regardless. You know, my politics have no business in the courtroom, and nobody else's politics either. Lady Justice, she is blind, and she is blind to everything but the truth. And so in the courtroom, you just need to focus on the truth. You know, our defense was based on the law and then applying the facts to the law. The House manager's case was nothing but emotion, and it was devoid of law. They wrote that the Constitution did not apply to the impeachment hearing. Unbelievable. The Senate chamber is the first place where the Constitution should apply. The senators, our representatives, think they're above everybody else. It's really disheartening because we're all just regular people. We're all equal. We need to be equal in the eyes of the law. And down in Washington, all those folks think they're better. They want better insurance than the rest of us. They want to get all kinds of exclusions from, you know, having to pay taxes to how many benefits they get off of our dole. And it was very disheartening. I'll tell you, it felt to me quite a bit like Rome must have felt at the end.
So let me ask you this, because everything that you're talking about as it applies to what happens in the Senate is what a lot of what was your client was accused of, right? He was acquitted by the very Senate, who then went out there. Mitch McConnell went out and said he should have been, he did incite this riot. So what's next for your client after all of this? Do you know? Are you aware?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah.
If anybody were to follow my advice, it's always the same. Keep your head down, work hard, and move yourself forward. That's my advice to any client. And it's my job to help them do it.
Okay.
And I think I did. Hopefully I did.
Yes. So we will be following you in the next few weeks, months, and years, because you've made history in this process. And so you will be written in history along with Bruce Castor and the other people of the defense team, along with the impeachment managers from the House and the Senate. So, we'll keep following.
I guess history will judge us one day, but, I ended my closing argument by pleading with those representatives to work on the issues of a shared national priority, social justice, racial justice, economic justice, equality for all. That's where they need to lead us. That's what the national priorities are, and I hope that maybe we help that just a little bit.
All right. Well, that is how we're going to end this interview. Thank you so much, Michael Van Deer, part of the defense for Donald Trump's.
Van der Veen.
Van der Veen. I'm sorry. That's all right. I am so sorry. Van der Veen. I saw it and said Van Deer. God help me. Michael Van der Veen. Yes.
God bless you.
Thank you so much, and we'll keep. I'll reach out to you again if I have other questions for you in the meantime. Okay?
Whenever you need, feel comfortable too.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good one, sir.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye. That was Michael Van der Veen, who was one of the defense attorneys for past President Donald Trump. We all know how that ended. He was acquitted by the folks in the Senate, the folks in the, Lord, I don't know why I'm losing my mind right now. The Congress, the impeachment managers brought the case against him after the January 6th insurrection. And while most, if not all, of the Congress people voted to impeach him, quite a few of the Republican senators voted not to. The Republican side of the aisle voted not to. And so he was cleared of this impeachment. Even as the impeachment ended, though, some of his folks like Mitch McConnell came out and had a whole conversation around the fact that he did believe he was guilty, but so that was Michael Van der Veen. It was a good, soothing conversation, because I want to find out what his life was like, what made him choose wanting to take this trial. He said it was a Super Bowl of trials, because of his Sixth Amendment right and his own actions. This is the president. This is Donald Trump's actions. He was having a hard time finding representation, and so he jumped into the fray, and they won. Right now, I'm going to take a quick break, and then when I come back, we're going to have Congresswoman Madeleine Dean, who was one of the impeachment managers for the second impeachment of Donald Trump. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Your child deserves to be educated in a safe and supportive learning environment. Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School, a tuition-free public school, is accepting applications for the 2021-2022 school year. SLAC's 2 locations offer single-gender classrooms in a dual-gender environment. Kindergarten and first-grade classrooms have a 15-to-1 student-teacher ratio. Students learn music, art, and fitness. Southwest Leadership educates the whole child, preparing students to become leaders. slacks-phila.org, Instagram at Southwest Leadership Academy, or email info@slacks-phila.org.
What's up, everyone? I know you know the word, no, not the station, but this word, J-O-B, that is. And our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
Join WURD's Cody Anderson and Reality Check host Charles Ellison on Tuesday, February 23rd at 10 a.m. for a special broadcast in partnership with Philadelphia Forum for Faith, Law, and Giving for a conversation on the legacy of Reverend Dr. Leon Sullivan as we celebrate his extraordinary accomplishments and explore how we replicate and expand his strategies to build and sustain community and economic development. This discussion will feature community leaders in conversation with Cody Anderson and Charles Ellison. You won't want to miss this special broadcast, Tuesday, February 23rd at 10 a.m. exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube.
Be sure to tune in this Sunday at 2 p.m. for the Physicians on Air show with host Dr. Alexander.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. While I am waiting for Congresswoman Madeline Dean to jump on the line, she's a part of the Robin Hood hearing that's happening today, so we're going to have to slip in and out with her. We're going to talk a little bit about the second impeachment, why that happened the way it did, and in fact, I'm going to have to take these calls because now I see Reverend Joe. How are you, sir?
Dr. Andrea, how are you, ma'am?
I'm good, sir.
Doing?
What's going on?
Well, I just want to thank you for having a great week of tackling the hard subjects, and I think nothing's going to happen for us until we meet racism and white supremacy head on, because our young people walking backwards and don't even know it because we don't sit down and tell them about the pitfalls and what to be looking for, and this is real. So I just want to call in and say, keep bringing those hard subjects. And I don't know if you know Dr. Alexander or not. She'll be on this Sunday. She's the head of, at one time, the head of all the black doctors. But you've got to understand about the racism in medicine. Some of the stories she told me, we were good friends. And that might be a subject you
know what? I am going to interview Dr. Alexander. Inbox me how I can talk to Michael on how I can reach out to her, because I want to interview her for Women's History Month.
Oh,
okay?
Great. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Marva's not playing now. We are about bringing the information.
We got to face these issues because it's real.
Yes, it is. It is. And
I would say, to get Trump off, he won, whatever. The point is that a man of that stature, you can reach out and get, and here you can't even get the police commissioner on there after a year of trying. But everybody, and I wish you would do this for me and probably most of the listening audience. If she want to come, don't even accept her. Don't even accept her. Because the only reason she want to come is because she getting a lot of heat from the black community. She tries to do as less black as possible. And it's not so much of her, it's the surroundings that she had. They all trying to get that white card, to try to move up in the ranks or whatever it is, their next job. But it's an honorary white card that they get. And it's a whole lot of these Negroes in this city are glad to have the honorary white card. Like they be biting your back out thinking it's going to get them an honorary white card. It don't. It don't, because God don't bless them for that. And if you listen to city council today, it was the most ridiculous. All of them procrastinated on this thing of the shooting up at Albany Avenue. Now, if you look at it, and we've been talking about for almost a year now, is that all those police work together. LaSalle, Temple, SEPTA, all of them work with the Philadelphia Police Department, all of them on the FOP. It's one, and council sits there and act like they don't know what's going on. They know what's going on.
Well, wait a minute, George. Let's talk about this. And I hope we can get this in before Madeline Dean calls in. Because we had a shooting at Broad and Olney yesterday, right?
That's right.
Broad and Olney has a bunch of cameras that are sitting there. 16 cameras. That 16 is what I heard, right? 16 cameras, right?
It's between Broad and Champlain, the nearest one, the police station, and Broad and Olney. It was 30-something cameras, right?
Okay, so just right at Broad and Olney by themselves, though, it is 16 cameras, right?
That's right, right around.
And they usually have a police detail sitting right there at Broad and Olney every single day. What happened at 3 o'clock yesterday?
Now, what happened at 3 o'clock yesterday is that it's like everything is like disappeared. As soon as when the shooting and all that stuff happened, nobody was around, and the ones that was around disappeared.
Okay.
Cops do not. Their job is not to solve crime because everybody got a point to prove. Everybody want to show, okay, you're going to embarrass us and do this here. Well, we're going to do this and show you what we're working with. That's all. You can throw $100 million at this wannabe problem, and it ain't gonna solve it. You can fund all the things you want to fund, and it ain't gonna solve it. It ain't about no jobs. It ain't about none of that. It's about they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and it's all about men sitting down having an ego. A lot of people got their feelings hurt. These people are into their feelings, and they're trying to prove a point. Okay, you want to chump me and embarrass me in front of everybody? Okay, at the end of the day, I'm going to show you who's really running this show. And they're winning. They're winning. You can say anything you want. The truth is the truth.
All right, so George, do me a favor. Call me back at 3 o'clock, please. I've got Congresswoman Madeline Dean on, and she's on a tight schedule. So let's talk a little bit later on in the show. Is that all right?
Got you.
All right, my brother.
Okay.
Take it easy. Woohoo! This is a show to end all shows today. Marva is moving right along. So you heard me at 1 o'clock talking to Michael Van der Veen, and just make sure. Yep, Van der Veen, who was the one of the defense attorneys in the Trump second impeachment trial. Asked him why he took the case. He said because nobody else wanted to take him on to represent Trump, because he deserved his Sixth Amendment right to be represented, and because of Trump's own behavior, why he was having a hard time finding representation. He was called. He thought of it as a Super Bowl of cases, and so he took it, despite the fact that he has faced some craziness once he got back home from folks, and with other people loving him, because quite frankly, there's a lot of folks on the other side of the aisle that loves Donald Trump, despite all of what we've seen happening. And so I didn't want to talk to Mr. Van der Veen without having another discussion on the other side of the aisle with Madeline Dean. She is born and raised in Glenside, Pennsylvania, completed her undergraduate studies at LaSalle University, and I want to talk to her about one of her sons, because she also has a book that she just wrote about opioid addiction and how it impacted her family. But she has now been sitting in Congress this is her second term. This is your second term, right, Congresswoman Dean? Good afternoon. Congresswoman Dean.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. This is your second term, correct?
It is my second term.
Ooh, and I have to tell you, Van der Veen talked about the fact that, the media has been so slanted. We're either on the left or we're either on the right, and no one's been in the middle. And so I want you to tell us just a little bit about the impeachment trial. Where do you think things went astray? And would you do it again? I'm asking you the same things that I asked him. Would you do this again? Why did you take it on as one of the impeachment managers?
Thanks for having me today, and thank you for understanding that I'm jumping between important hearings. But I thank you for the opportunity to talk with you. I would absolutely do this again. It was a solemn honor to be a part of that management team to prosecute the case before the American public, and I would say we found success. Number one, we put forward extraordinary, damning evidence about the president's words and actions that led to an insurrection, an attack on the Capitol, Americans attacking Americans, 5 people dead. What happened was a strong majority of the U.S. Senate, 57 members, in the most bipartisan impeachment vote ever in American history, voted that Donald Trump was guilty of these crimes, these high crimes. And this is not a criminal trial. High crimes and misdemeanors. They are crimes against his oath, against our Constitution. So I am very satisfied that we put that record before the American people for all history.
Van der Veen says that this entire case was just about emotion, and that you all didn't follow the law. What do you have to say about that?
There's something I would agree with in your lead up here. You said that Mr. Van der Veen said everybody has a right to a defense. I'm an attorney. I couldn't agree with him more, but that's about where we part company. Everybody has a right to a defense, but everyone does not have a right to his own facts or his own law. And sadly, that is what the attorneys for the president were unable to touch the facts, and so instead they misrepresented the law. I think the media's role is less important here. What I think is important is that if people pay attention, take a look at the trial, which I know millions of Americans did, they were presented with the facts, the law, the evidence, and the damning vote by 57 members of the Senate.
So now that the impeachment trial is over, is this the end of it for the Congress and the Senate as it applies to Donald Trump, or are you working on other articles, that would impact his moving forward in terms of, let's say, running for office again? Is there anything you can do about that?
I know there are others who are thinking about that because disqualification from running for office is an important feature of impeachment. But I do believe that the Senate vote will be the disqualifier. The American public knows what happened here. This was not a case just about emotion. Tell that to the people who lost loved ones that day. Tell that to the people who lost fingers or eyesight. Tell that to the janitors who had to clean up the blood-stained floors, the broken glass. This is a case about incitement to insurrection. The president has, by his own words and actions, disqualified himself. Where do we go from here? We go to what we need to do, which is the important work of getting recovery and vaccines and health and jobs and our kids back in schools. We have a lot of work to do. So as we turn the page on impeachment, and I support the independent commission that Speaker Pelosi has talked about, and it needs to be truly independent so that we can gather all the facts and evidence. Because as I said in my presentation, this is a dialogue with history. You saw, and I thought it was so rich, how we learned about the framers and what they worried about. They worried about mobs. They worried about demagogues because they knew them. And if we don't learn from our past and what the framers put together, and then what just happened in the lead-up and the execution of the incitement on the 6th of January, we are destined to repeat it. And so I support the independent commission, and in the meantime, really want to dig in on the work of our Congress to repair our country.
Good to hear, because people are already getting frustrated about the lack of minimum wage, the $15 minimum wage, the student loan debt. And, when folks are frustrated, they don't think about what was actually said versus what they're hearing now. And so especially our young people, Congresswoman Dean, they're beyond frustrated. They said, we did not want to vote for Biden without making sure we had certain things in place. And they made demands, right, for their votes. And so now they're waiting, and they don't want to wait too long because they're fussing and complaining that we, the older folks, have waited forever and a day, and now they're not willing to wait that long. And so we have to find that middle ground, for the young folks and the people who are continuing to suffer and struggle amidst this government trying to figure out where our middle ground is to get as much help as possible to as many people as possible, right? I know you don't have much time, so I'm going to ask you quickly about this one. You're having the GameStop hearing today about the Robin Hood. What's that about?
Yes. Well, it's really information gathering to find out what in God's name happened at the end of January with the trading and the ceasing of trading and the position that a lot of people wound up in of, I know many made money, but an awful lot of people lost money. When a stock like that goes viral, what are the protections in place? What are the guardrails in place for ordinary investors so that they can protect the gains and they can be protected against extraordinary losses or overreach by any of these platforms? So really, I'm hoping to learn. My focus today is going to be on transparency to the customers. What did they know and when did they know it? And how were they protected by the process? After all, they are customers, and many of these platforms are service-oriented. Let's see what services they prepared and delivered. They're already admitting mistakes were made, and so we'll be interested in holding them accountable to those mistakes and learning for the future, because this will happen again.
Yes, agreed. So I'd like to bring you back on to talk about that at some point after this hearing is over and what came out of it, so that the WURD listeners can get an idea of, when they're going onto these apps to trade and buy stocks, what the risks are and how are they protected in the interim. So I'm glad to hear that is happening, right? Sure. The last thing I want to talk to you about, you see how good I'm just running right along now, because I know you may have to leave me at any point. The book that you wrote about your son, explain to us why you wrote the book and why is this an important time for you now to talk about your son's opioid addiction and what that meant to your family.
Thank you for asking, and I co-wrote it. So my son Harry Canaan and I wrote this book. We began the book in the summer of 2018, before I was elected to Congress. Someone came to us and said, there might be an important story in the struggle and the battle that you two went through for the last few years as Harry slipped farther and farther into the depths and horrors of addiction, opioid addiction in his case. And so we co-wrote a book, and you'll see in the book that literally I speak, and I have a font that is different from Harry's, and they are woven, our stories are woven together to tell the story of a mother battling to find out what in God's name was wrong with her son, and Harry, a son trying to hide his addiction as he slipped farther and farther into it. And as addiction robbed him of himself, almost robbed him of his life. And we know that too many families are suffering with this, and too many families have lost loved ones to this. We wrote the book to offer hope. We wrote the book to stop the stigma. We wrote the book to shed light on some of the absolute injustices of addiction. You know, white privilege kept Harry from having a criminal record. White privilege didn't keep him from getting the disease. White privilege didn't keep him from almost losing his life. But white privilege and socioeconomic factors kept him out of jail. We know, he and I visited Kern Fromholm prison together, and I said to him at the time, we know this is a jail that could have been your own, but for some other matters. Right. Ultimately, we wrote the book to say there is hope in recovery. Harry is healthy. He is well. He's 8 years, 3 months, and about 15 days into his recovery. It is an everyday need and battle. Yes. This is not a curable disease yet, but I just wanted to offer hope to others who are struggling, who are addicted, or family members or friends who are trying to help someone else.
How can thank you for addressing the thought of the injustices in addiction. I love that about you, that you did not shy away from the fact that if your son was someone else, if your son was son of Andrea Lawful Sanders, for instance, he may have been locked up and imprisoned and probably died from his addiction. But for the privileges that come along with who you are and the fact that your skin does not look like mine. So I appreciate the fact that you were willing to openly have that kind of discussion. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to have you and Harry on when time permits, aside from the Congress stuff, right? So you and he and I can talk, because addiction is really ravaging our communities in ways we can't even begin to fathom. And there is all kinds of vitriol on either side of it. Kensington comes to mind, for instance, for me, right? And I have a friend that I cycle with all the time who has an adopted son that is caught up in the ravages of this. And so she and I will talk. You know, when we listen to each other, we get to understand more where people are coming from. But we also cannot ignore the fact that so many black and brown people had those same ravaging addictions, and that was not offered to them. They were given jail time and 3 strikes you're out, and so many of them are still in prison to this day. So tell Harry that I would love to sit in a conversation with you and he. I know you're all on a book tour at this point, and everybody wants to talk to you. But right here, I would love to be able to have a conversation with the both of you. Is that all right?
That would be our privilege. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
I would love to do that. And to your point on Kensington and elsewhere, you know, if we want to tackle a problem, as Brian Stevenson says, you have to get proximate to it. That's what we're trying to do. Get close to it. Understand the disease better. Understand the addict better. Find the humanity in it. And then maybe we can make a difference.
Yes. Congresswoman Madeline Dean, thank you so much for another great interview. I will reach out to I don't even know who I'm supposed to. Oh, how can they find the book? Quickly.
Oh, the book is entitled Under Our Roof. It is Penguin Random House. Convergent is the imprint. We also have a children's book called You Are Always Loved. And so we had a collaboration with others who are in recovery or have family in recovery. That's the thing. There's a generous crowd around recovery who want to give back, who want to help others find recovery. So it's Under Our Roof by Madeline Dean and Harry Canaan, and You Are Always Loved.
All right. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Go knock 'em dead at this Robin Hood hearing and let us know what you find out, okay?
Will do. Thank you very much for following up.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I have to take a deep breath because I feel like I accomplished something great today. I had 2 wonderful interviews in less than 40 minutes. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. Madeline Dean's book can be found in bookstores and on Amazon. It is called Under Our Roof by Madeline Dean and her son Harry. I couldn't get his last name quickly as I was writing, and it's also through Penguin Random House. We will be right back after these messages.
Just one more step. You got this.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations. Because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
I'm Anthony McLaughlin. Been denied insurance? Call 215-782-8574. Life insurance, age 0 to 85, no examination needed. Homeowners insurance, any home, any condition, same-day coverage. 215-782-8574. Auto insurance, we can have you covered in 15 minutes. Business insurance, call 24 hours a day, 215-782-8574. I'm Anthony McLaughlin. When you need insurance, I can help.
WURD Radio celebrates Black History Month with Black Artist Story 365, brought to you by Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School.
Welcome to Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. Get into this episode where we explore the art and artistry of Tony Award-winning actress and singer and Philly home diva, Pearl Bailey. Auntie Pearl Bailey was born in Newport News, Virginia, to the Reverend Joseph James and Ella Mae Ricks Bailey. She graduated from Booker T. Washington High School in nearby Norfolk, Virginia, and decided to pursue a career in entertainment. She began by singing and dancing in Philadelphia's black nightclubs in the 1930s and soon started performing in other parts of the East Coast. She settled in New York City. She performed with famous folk like Cab Calloway and Duke Ellington. In 1946, she made her Broadway debut in St. Louis Woman. She was in a whole bunch of films too, honey, including the iconic Carmen Jones, starring Academy Award nominee Dorothy Dandridge. If you recall, Auntie Pearl played Carmen's friend, Frankie.
Tell you why I wanna dance. It ain't the sweetness in the music. I like the sweetness in the music, but that ain't why I wanna dance.
In 1967, Bailey and Cab Calloway headlined an all-black cast version of Hello Dolly. The touring version was so successful, producer David Merrick took it to Broadway, where it played to sold-out houses and revitalized the long-running musical. Bailey was given a special Tony Award for her role, and RCA Victor made a second original cast album.
All those lights over there seem to be telling me where I'm going. When the whistles blow and the cymbals crash and the sparklers light the sky, I'm gonna raise the roof, I'm gonna carry on. Give me that old trombone, give me that old baton for the parade passing by.
So that's it for this episode of Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. To hear more, tune in to The Envy McKee Show, Friday nights, 7 to 10 p.m., right here on WURD.
Black Artist Story 365 was brought to you by Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School and the Pennsylvania Lottery. Get to winning with Win, 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 the new scratch-off from the Pennsylvania Lottery, with top prizes of $500,000. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day. Words from our past. WURD Radio celebrates the powerful voices of Black history. Reverend Dr. Leon H. Sullivan.
If there is anything in earth that makes man akin to God, it is his power to believe. For things are to us what they are on the basis of what we believe them to be, whether they be true or whether they be false. If, for example, you believe that a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points, then for you this is true in spite of the fact that there is no such thing as a straight line in a crooked world.
Words from our past, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. This episode brought to you by Comcast.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source, Lord. So I have Michael Vanderveen at the beginning of the show, Congresswoman Madeline Dean in the middle, and now and the hour isn't even over yet. It's 1:49, and now I've got Prince and Maurice. Help me, Father God. Prince, how are you, sir?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Wasn't that some good interviews?
You know, great bipartisanism. I mean, wow, you had one from each side, and both of them seem to just want what we want, you know, America to run right for everybody.
Yeah.
I like
how
that.
Are you doing?
That was awesome.
Thank you.
You know, I just wanted to, now, you know, I got three things, so and I'm going to jump off the horn after this.
Maurice, you might have to hold on for a minute because Prince got three things.
The Philadelphia Parking Authority are towing people cars, right? Now, they didn't have a public announcement or anything to let people know that they were closing at 11:30 every day. Mm-hmm. And so if a person gets their car towed in City at 10 o'clock, they can't go make a payment arrangement until the next day. It was 30 degrees yesterday. We had 20 people in line to make a payment arrangement, and they said that they're taking no more arrangements at 11:30. So what are they doing the whole day till 5 o'clock? And why are you putting these? And out of the 20 people, 20 of them was African American. It was 5 females and the rest were males, young guys, under 40. They just got their car towed from Arch Street and in the Center City area, and yet they can't make a payment arrangement because we shut down a quasi-state and city facility, and that wasn't broadcast anywhere. That wasn't on the 6 o'clock news, wasn't on Channel 3, Channel 10. And that is this is why we think the city council people are out of touch. Mm-hmm. You know how bad that is to have your car taken when you come out of wherever you are and you go to look for it and it's not there.
When did this happen, Prince?
This was yesterday, but they've been shutting down at 11:30 for quite some time. And so I would like, if you could, get somebody from the parking authority and just ask them a question like who sanctioned that? And how does that help the citizens of Philadelphia when you shut down? It's all about how does it help us?
Okay, I'm on it. I am on it. All right, what's next? I need to talk to you about this. Let me talk to you about this before we have to go to break. There was an article that came out by Billy Penn that says, Politics Power Move. Sherelle Parker, expected candidate for Philly mayor, elected DRPA chair, right? So, and I begin to read this, and it says, she will be the first woman to serve as board chair for the Delaware River Parking Authority, the bi-state organization that oversees Pennsylvania and New Jersey's 4 river-spanning bridges and the Patco high-speed line. The 16-member board approved her appointment on Wednesday morning. What I saw here that made me think about this was she replaces outgoing chair Ryan Boyer, the union leader of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia, but she had never been on the board at all, and then was just elected to the chair. How does that work out? And where do you think that's going?
It's a big problem. It's party politics. And it's a big problem. And you got to understand, you had the DA on your show just the other day. He was talking about the young lady who had a DUI, and then she had an altercation with the police officer, correct?
That's Cassandra Franklin.
Sherelle Parker had a DUI and had a confrontation, arguing with the officer, going up a one-way street drunk, and wind up getting locked up, being convicted and being locked up. And party politics reduced the charges to a misdemeanor. She was a state rep. Then she ran to take Marion Tasco's seat unopposed and became a city council people. And now you are putting a convicted person, not a felon, but she's convicted of a misdemeanor. She spent a weekend, if that, in jail. And so this is embarrassing. This is party politics and all about keeping it quiet and not talking about these things. But then here's the fundamental problem with her. Not just that she's loud and for no reason, is that she's convincing everybody that she wants to run for mayor, which is never going to happen, because if they don't pass a resolution where when she leave that job, she can go back to that job, she's not going to leave that job because she's not going to get another job. So city council is where she wants to be, but she wants to be president of city council. So if Darrell Clarke doesn't run again, she wants to be president of city council. And remember, she didn't get her term based on having an opponent. She got her term because she was unopposed. And so in her fake run for mayor and her accomplishment to get to city council, her goal is to spend $100 million from Borden Alley to Borden Stetton Avenue and get rid of the police station at the 39th district at Champlain and the firehouse, and see if she can build up that whole area right there with $100 million of borrowed money. People need to know the facts about this. And you ain't got to take my word for it. All you got to do is look at the 5-year plan or the 10-year plan.
So is that the Philly 2035 plan?
Right. You sort of look at the city plan, which tells you all these things are going to come in effect.
Okay. But Prince, I went looking at the Philly 2035 plan, and it's evasive at best for me. Like, you have to click on this and click on that. It's not cleanly or giving you exactly what the plan is right up front. So where am I looking for this plan?
No. It's designed that way. The same way that you didn't know that no one asked Mayor Kinney, what did he do? How did the residents of the city of Philadelphia get representation when they hacked the computer systems for the judges? When they hacked the computer system for the judges, and you had to remove all the judges' computers, how are the judges doing their job? And we paid them a good mid-six-figure salary. Right. These are the questions that need to be asked in the city of Philadelphia. And I don't know if you heard city council this morning, because I know you were preparing.
No, I did not. I was preparing for these meetings, these conversations I just had.
There was a statement made by our councilman, Curtis Jones, who head up the public safety. He's the chair of the public safety. Whereas he talked about the horrific shooting up at Borden Alley, but he's responsible for all the cameras in the city of Philadelphia. And he said that there was a young man that he's taken responsibility for who had died on his watch. The last conversation he had with this young man was, he said, well, can you get me a job, please, sir, so I can get off these streets? And I'm like, well, why was that so hard? Because 30 days later, the guy was dead, but Curtis Jones' son worked for the city, his wife worked for the city, his family worked for the city. It would have been just as easy for him to get this young man one job at the rec department or the streets department or somewhere. If you
hold on one second, Prince. Let me take a quick break before Michael get to me. Hold on one second. We'll be right back. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
I went to check on Pop today. We put our hands up to the glass as if we were touching. But really, the only touching part was that we both tried to smile.
That's no way to say hello or goodbye. COVID-19 vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we'll all still need to help slow the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Juanita, owners of JD's Auto Body and Painting. We're located at 6300 Wayne Avenue, right there at the intersection of Wayne and Washington Lane.
We really like to thank all you WURD listeners for the support that you've given our business, and we really hope to see you in the future.
JD, tell them about our products and services we have.
We have a new state-of-the-art paint shop along with our body shop and detail shop. We can help you with the dents and scratches from the winter season.
Come to JD's Auto Body and Painting. Come on out and check us out. We're still honoring that WURD 10% discount. Give us a call, 215-848-5949. Again, 215-848-5949.
Thanks again for supporting our business. We really appreciate you.
See you at JD's Auto Body and Painting.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy.
Intimacy and truth
during pandemic times. The 4 kinds of love: sex, eros, philia, agape. The 3 ways to say I love you: information, intimacy, behavior. Information, intimacy, behavior. Remember, this is a pandemic time for the world. It's time to gather around and be truthful and real and honest and joyful. Hold hands and smile, for goodness sake. Don't forget the children, the teenagers, the older generations. Music and dance time is any time, even if you hum or do the electric slide. Blessed assurance. I sing because I'm happy, Sam Cooke. Shake, or the Jackson 5. I gotta be starting something. Yes, dancing is allowed during pandemic times. Oh, happy day.
Words from our past. WURD Radio celebrates the powerful voices of Black history. Malcolm X.
We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough. And it is because of our effort toward getting straight to the root that people oftentimes think we are dealing in hate. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us is come together against the common enemy.
Words from our past, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Celebrating Black history all day, every day. Maddie Humphreys.
You can't proclaim that people have inalienable rights from a common creator and say you own some of those people.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Philadelphia, independent Black media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Before we get to our next guest, Deborah Keys Wright and Dr. Shelley Jones Holt for our weekly segment, livelihood segment. Let me finish my conversation quickly with Prince, and let me take Maurice, and then we'll get right into the livelihood segment. Go ahead, Prince.
I think that we should find all 16 members who voted Sherelle Parker to that board, and we should just do our research, and we should send a letter. And so then we don't think that a person who could have killed people driving drunk. It wasn't her first DUI. She wouldn't have got locked up. They got programs for counsel people. We had a guy, Cruz, who was councilman for like 16 years, and he got stopped drunk driving and found out he never had a driver's license. So I think they've taken us for granted with putting these politicians in office and making the exchange and putting them on boards. And as you should know, city council is a part-time job. We should reduce that salary that they get of $135,000 to $65,000. That's not a full-time job. You're paying them too much for too little that's being done. And you should take the school superintendent and make it $150,000, and the police commissioner make it $150,000. These are nonprofit entities that we are overpaying for. This is not for-profit, big Fortune 500 company. And we need some help. We need some help because our station is geared up to the population of maybe 50 to 90 years old, probably 80% listen to the station right here. And they need a voice, and they need an economic voice, and we need to restructure how we're dealing with these politicians because they're dealing with us in a way that's unsavory and it's unhealthy and it's unsafe. And that's my soapbox. I'll stand on it, and I'll hang up and I'll listen to Marie.
Thank you. Call me back on Monday and let's talk about the cameras on Broad Street. I got to get to my next guest. Otherwise, we'll talk about this. But something doesn't smell right for me that we had 16 cameras at Broad and Olney. At Broad and Olney alone, there should have been a police detail there because I asked. I'm like, well, what is going on? And at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, all hell broke loose. 7 people shot. Did anybody die from that thing?
One person may have died, a 70-year-old man. But as you would say, once again, two blocks down, there's a police station, and the Asian community pays a fee for the police to service that corridor, and yet there was not one cop, not one bike cop, not one mini station. And let me tell you something. They got 16 cameras. They already know who the shooters were. If they can find 2 guns on the ground, they already know who the shooters were. The problem is that they don't give us information timely. They give us information when they think we should have it, and that's a fundamental problem. And I'll hang up and I'll listen to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prince. Always a pleasure. All right, Maurice, Maurice, not Maurice.
Mother.
Now listen, I have guests waiting. One of them is national, so be nice.
The city has drove me to drink.
They finally got you there, huh?
Why? What? How does I can't even say her name, Parker, deserve to even be in that position? She can't do the job she got.
So we're still talking about Parker. Okay.
How is that even possible? Why? You know what they do in city council? They go around and slap each other in the butt and talk about what great jobs each of them have done. That's all they do.
Yeah.
I cannot walk in there and address city council about the crime because it's not on the bill to talk about today. As a citizen, I can't go in there and say, hey, look, what's up with the vaccines? Why, when there's a majority black folks in Philadelphia, over 40%, and we're the lowest percentage of getting the vaccine? How is that possible? I can't walk in there and say that because, hey, it's not on the bill. It's not number 22789 fixed, whatever. And they'll pull me off the stage because I'm talking out of turn. See, these is the nonsense that's going on here. Curtis Jones, when Darrell Clark tried to close the meeting up, that's when he came in with that story about the young man that got killed because the young man asked him for a job. But the moral of the story was, why didn't you just give him a job? Don't tell us what you could have did. Now he's dead. Maybe if you would have gave him a job, he'd still be alive. That's the moral of the story. So he's in charge, like Prince said, he's in charge of those cameras. Right? But see, those cameras are everywhere. They're not just there. They're all over the city. And if you need to move cameras to a certain area that has high crime, that's what you should be doing. But do you ever hear Curtis Jones, any host on here, ever have him on to talk to him? Why is that? They know who he is. The hosts here have been here enough time to know what job Curtis Jones does. And every time I bring it up, the two carpetbaggers in the morning, they didn't even mention the killings this morning. And then the fake apostle that comes behind him, he worried about Rush Limbaugh. So what is going on with our people? City council have turned their back on us, and we just accepting it. I'm not blaming them no more.
Just so I can get you, I'm going to ask Brianna to reach out to Councilman Jones and see what happens.
I appreciate it because I've been asking for a year. Now let's get to our favorite person because I know you got a guest coming up.
I have guests. They're on the air now.
I got a milk carton right here in my hand, right?
Okay.
And the police commissioner's face is on it because she's missing in action. How come she don't go to the black public that brought her here? She wouldn't have the job if Solomon Jones didn't go out and get her. Where is she at? The black community is in pain right now, but all she can do is have a fancy mask on and talk about what we already know. Like, she's not giving us no answers. She's giving us phrases and terms. But how come she's not coming to the black community and say, hey, my bad.
So let me say this to you, Maurice. I invited her. I spoke to her people. I sent my email about what I wanted to talk to her about. I spoke to not one, but two of her people. I have yet to hear back from them. They said she agreed to the interview, and I have yet to hear from them, like, when this interview is going to happen. And so I'm going to publicly keep saying this, that I requested the interview. They told me that she was going to do the interview, and I have not heard back from her. And at some point, we will hear. If I don't hear from her within the next 30 days, then I know she has no interest in doing this interview because not one but two of her people who I spoke to about this. And I was very upfront and very forthright about what I wanted to discuss with her moving forward. So she doesn't take this interview, then that you can't say we didn't ask for it, right? So that's where I am.
Listen, I want to close with a famous person that we all know, okay? You ain't black. You don't get an interview.
You know what? Goodbye. Goodbye, Maurice. See, you always... goodbye, Maurice. Goodbye. Goodbye. Jesus be offense. All right. See, he starts out okay, and then he drives me nuts. Bye, Maurice. All right, so I'm moving right along to my 2 p.m. guests. We're talking, it's our livelihood segment that we do every single week. Deborah Keys Wright is one who is always on. She started with me last year talking about school board governance and equity. She's a national board governance and education equity consultant for the Wright Keys Consulting LLC. She is amazing. We talked all week long about what's going on in school districts around the country, because you see, we chat so much about Philadelphia and what's wrong with Philadelphia. And all I'm working on is I'm hoping and praying that people in the Philadelphia school districts are listening to some of these conversations and trying to take some of what they're learning and moving forward with it for our children, because it is criminal when our children can't learn and get what they need out of the school system. I have with her Dr. Shelley Holt. I hope Deborah warned Dr. Shelley Holt that I am a pistol. But Dr. Shelley Holt is a racial and educational impact anthropologist focused on providing racial, cultural, and historically informed experiences for schools, organizations, and government agencies to build cultures that are culturally proficient, equitable, and ultimately intentionally anti-racist. Well, let's just get this conversation started, shall we? Dr. Shelley Holt and Deborah Keys Wright, how are you both?
Wonderful, wonderful. I cannot be more excited to be here. And yes, you warned me that you were a pit bull and I'm a Rottweiler, so we are birds of a feather. We're going to have fun today.
I can't wait. Michael, record this video. pull this video, Michael, when we're done. Record this whole session, because I can't wait. So, every week we talk about anything having to deal with racial and educational impact, right? Like where are we and what's going on? Lord. Deborah, let me start with you. What do you have for us this week and why? And then I'll move into Dr. Shelley Holt.
Sure. And yes, I did let her know, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. And I probably will chime in more once you guys get started. But, just again, focusing on anti-racism, we continue to have to focus on that. And, identifying that what it is and what it is not, who's our ally, who is not. It's not a black issue. It is a white issue. I'm going to just put that out there. And having book clubs and conversations with everyone who you think can give you information does not solve this problem. We do have to all do this together, and it is impacting student learning. We talked about last week about the adults can be the oppressors of children who they're teaching. They have the authority, from the superintendents, principals, and teachers who they stand in front of students. So we have to make sure we know who's in front of our students. Are they culturally relevant? What's the pedagogy? All of these things we have to make sure, because we are the advocates for our students. They don't know what they don't know, but we have to protect them and make sure that people that we put in front of them have the best interest for them. And this whole racial unrest and social unrest, this is not going away. It has just really peeled the scab off of the injury that we have lived throughout our lives. And so the students today, I think they are not going to tolerate it anymore. They're going to challenge what's being taught, what kind of curriculum is in the school system, what teachers are in front of them, how are they engaging with them, is the curriculum relevant to them? I think all of this is important. This is under the umbrella of equity. And as you know, when you talk about equity, you must engage and talk about race. And this is where most people are not comfortable, because they feel we're going to ease over into the space where we're talking about racism. But we need to isolate race, because this is an issue. And, of course, poverty and things of that nature is a part of equity. But being poor, the last time I checked, is not a disability. That does not mean children can't learn because of the circumstances that they are living in. And so as adults, and especially as with Dr. Shelley, as I call her, being a former superintendent, administrator, principal, and teacher, she can deliver all this.
So she checks all the boxes, huh?
She checks all the boxes. So I'm going to, let her jump in there, and this is going to be a very engaging conversation.
Boy, right now, Dr. Shelley Holt, I just need you to buckle down for me, okay? Because we're about to go in with no Vaseline. All right. I am in the process of reading a book called Caste, written by Isabel Wilkerson, the same woman who wrote, Lord, what's the name of that book? Something Other Sons. Lord, why is my brain not working today? I'll figure that out. And on page 68, she talked about the R word. And I could not wait for Thursday to come. The Warmth of Other Sons is the name of the book, her first book. I could not wait for today to come to talk about this. And I'm going to read this slight passage, and then Dr. Shelley, we're going to talk. What we face in our current day is not the classical racism of our forefathers' era, but a mutation of the software that adjusts to the updated needs of the operating system. In the half a century since civil rights protests forced the United States into making state-sanctioned discrimination illegal, what Americans consider to be racism has shifted, and now the word is one of the most contentious and misunderstood in American culture. For the dominant caste, the word is radioactive. Resented, feared, denied, lobbed backward towards anyone who dares to suggest it. Resistance to the word often derails any discussion of the underlying behavior it is meant to describe, thus eroding it of its meaning. Social scientists often define racism as the combination of racial bias and systemic power, seeing racism like sexism as primarily the action of people or systems with personal or group power over another person or group with less power. As men have power over women, white people over people of color, and the dominant over the subordinate. But over time, racism has often been reduced to a feeling, a character flaw, conflated with prejudice, connected to whether one is a good person or not. It has come to mean overt and declared hatred of a person or group because of the race ascribed to them, a perspective few would ever own up to. While people will admit to or call out sexism or xenophobia and homophobia, people may immediately deflect accusations of racism, saying they don't have a racist bone in their body or are the least racist person you could ever meet, that they don't see color, one of the most offensive thing anybody could ever say to me, and that their best friend is black. That's the second worst thing you could ever say to me. And they may have even convinced themselves on a conscious level of these things. Now that I have read that passage, let's go, Dr. Shelley.
So I love what she said because, one, it's true, but two, it starts to get at the core of what we're talking about when we really speak about racism in a meaningful way. You see, we have trouble speaking about racism or race in a meaningful way, especially its origins, because in order to address racism, we're not just addressing what I'm doing right now. What I'm also addressing is the beliefs and core values that I hold, and you're starting to get into what my grandmother thought and did. You're starting to get into what my grandfather thought and did, my great-grandmother, my mother, everybody in our family, because racism has its roots in the things that we love and cherish the most. So in order for me to address racism, I also have to address some of these other isms. And when we start talking about which isms are most appropriate or are most comfortable with folks, we do also have to get into why some of those are more comfortable with folks. Why is it considered okay to be sexist? Why is it considered okay to be homophobic? But all of a sudden, and those exist, we can admit that that oppression by certain identities exists. One of my favorite activities to do with groups is to put up a chart where I talk about different identities that we have. We have a gender identity, we have a racial identity, we have a religious identity, we have an age identity, we have a disability identity. We all have these different identities. And I put that chart up for folks, and I say, hey, can we all fit in a category in these boxes? And everybody goes, yes, I have a race, I have a gender, I have... Excellent, great. And then right next to it, as soon as they say yes, I say, well, okay, every one of these identities have a form of oppression. You can literally hear the mic drop in the room because people go, uh-oh, And they really, and so what we have to now start talking about, why is some oppression okay and other forms of oppression is not? When in reality, there's no form of oppression that's okay. And we have to now get back to the roots of who taught us what it was okay to be oppressive about. We have to go back to some of those sexist comments like, oh, well, you are too this to be a boy, you're too that to be a girl, you're, don't be a boy who's too effeminate because you're going to fall into this identity category. Don't be a girl like myself who was an athlete and loved sports because you're going to be considered X, Y, and Z. And so we have all of these different identities that we have made acceptable or unacceptable. Well, we never get to the core as to why or where those thoughts came from and why some thoughts were okay and some thoughts were not. And the reason is because, guess what? It starts at home. If racism starts at home, which we know it does, it starts in the little comments. It starts in the little things that we're allowed to think of as other. And it starts in all homes. Many times, people of color, I am as blackety, black as the next one, but I still have to be very careful with what my children come home with, because my children will have the potential to oppress. Everyone has the potential to oppress. Just because you're black doesn't mean you can't oppress. Doesn't because you're white doesn't mean you do oppress. We all have the potential to oppress, and we all have a responsibility in our homes to teach our children about that oppression. But unfortunately, that's not the way that family leadership has been designed. What we did was we took a survivalist mentality to deal with the white supremacist nation that we live in, right? So black folks started teaching their kids about how to deal with white folks and how to deal with the police and such, and white folks just went on with life and never really had to worry about these things. Well, now we've come to, as Malcolm X would say, the chickens have come home to roost, and we're realizing that family leadership, as it's been designed, has been lacking in quite a few areas, one of which is how we address issues of race, and which is predicated upon how we treat people who are different from ourselves. Black folks tonight can now go ahead and have racist conversations about Asian folks. We're just as guilty.
Come on.
The difference between power and privilege and racism. But prejudice still exists. White folks that are now looking at, Muslims, or black folks the same, that are now looking at people who are Muslim with a certain eye, we are just as guilty. And so we can't say that one form of oppression is okay, but this form of oppression, because it affects me, is not okay. That's not the way this thing works. Oppression in all forms has to be seen as absolutely unacceptable, and we have to start that in our homes with our children, having conversations with them about what is and isn't appropriate. And that's where I've shifted and started to think about all the parents that would come in my office. I kid you not, whether I was a principal or a superintendent, there'd be parents that come in my office. Kid is just, let's say their child's a white child, and they just call the kid the N-word, and without fail, every one of them. I don't know where he got that from. You don't know where he got that from. You know exactly where they got that from. And so let's not, because it's embarrassing, you don't want, the truer statement is, I don't want to admit where they got that from. Because they got that in that little jokes that we decided were okay. They got that in the little things that we do at home that we're going to call our little boys sissies. We're going to call our girls this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden, you didn't think that was going to have some traumatic effect on them? Here's the kill. If we look at epigenetic trauma, and I'm going to speak about epigenetic trauma.
Hold the epigenetic trauma, because Woody calls in here about epigenetic trauma all the time. Oh, Deborah, girl, I could kiss you. This is a good conversation. I don't even know where to start. Hold on one second. Let me take a quick break, and then we'll come right back. Don't lose that train of thought, though, on the epigenetics. All right. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Your child deserves to be educated in a safe and supportive learning environment. Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School, a tuition-free public school, is accepting applications for the 2021-2022 school year. SLAC's 2 locations offer single-gender classrooms in a dual-gender environment. Kindergarten and first-grade classrooms have a 15-to-1 student-teacher ratio. Students learn music, art, and fitness. Southwest Leadership educates the whole child, preparing students to become leaders. slacks-phila.org, Instagram at Southwest Leadership Academy, or email info@slacks-phila.org.
Clark Roofing salutes Black History Month with over 30 years of quality roofing experience, providing exceptional customer service, honesty, and professionalism. For service, call 215-365-ROOF. That's 215-365-7663.
Okay, Purr's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet. Hold on. Whew. But you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Hers Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Hers.
WURD Radio is independent Black media.
And we're able to stay independent because of our 4WURD movement and members like you.
Treat yourself to the treat of buying a WURD membership. It's less than a quarter a day. That's less than a bag of chips. And we really, truly need to keep this platform going so that we can stay connected as we reimagine our community in 2021.
Start or renew your 4WURD membership today at wordradio.com/4WURD or call 215-425-7875. WURD Radio. Independent Black media.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour work day, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source and our weekly livelihood segment where we talk about racial inequity, bias, implicit bias, explicit bias, and all of that is entailed with it. I always have Deborah Keys right on, and this week she has Dr. Shelley Holt, who is the founder and CEO of Leadership Legacy Consulting, LLC, drawing on over 20 years of award-winning experience as a large public school district superintendent, central administrative officer, principal, and teacher. Dr. Holt has dedicated her life and career to helping young people and those dedicated to supporting them achieve their fullest potential. She supports the elimination of systems that perpetuate anti-Black racism, division, discrimination, and oppression of any kind through honest, open, and respectful dialogue and introspection. I'm trying to tell you, Dr. Shelley Holt is going to be invited to my dinner table once COVID finds somewhere else to go. But welcome back to the show, Dr. Holt and Deborah. Let's Jones Holt. I'm sorry, Dr. Shelley Jones Holt. Never want to mess up anyone's name. Let's get into the epigenetics conversation, please. And why is it so important? We have a caller from WURD, Woody, who consistently talks about the epigenetics and why we are so traumatized. Talk a little bit about that from your lens, please.
So, and for those of you who are not familiar with the epigenetics, please, by all means, hit me up on Facebook or join our private Facebook group at Anti-Racist Families if you ask to join. I'm always sharing this kind of information with folks because knowledge is power and ignorance for some is bliss, and we got to get rid of some of this blissful living that some of us are doing at the expense of others. Epigenetics is one of those pieces. And so the study of epigenetics, like, let's really back up and just understand the racialized history of just the topic itself, because epigenetics was not even considered a valid form of research or study until it was done on descendants of the Holocaust after our Jewish brothers and sisters had been completely traumatized by the tyranny of what was happening in Germany with the people. I don't like to say people. I don't like to say his name, just like I don't like saying the other name. But you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Shall not be spoken, right? And so it wasn't even considered an actual study until it was done basically on white folks. And what happened is they realized that after 2 generations of Holocaust survivors, after 2 generations, the children had deficiencies in specific markers as related to various forms of stress that had been induced merely by the trauma, and it had been passed down. The trauma had been passed down from the womb into the children. Now, 2 generations later, you have changes in their DNA. Hold on, just wait 1 minute. We just said, I'm going to say it again very clearly, that the DNA, the actual DNA changed after 2 generations based on stress and trauma that the mothers had experienced throughout the Holocaust. So if we had changes in DNA in 2 generations in our Jewish brothers and sisters after the Holocaust, and the Holocaust only lasted, and I don't want to say it like it's trite, like only 5 years, like that wasn't horrible, but it lasted 5 years. What do you think has happened to an entire community of people after several generations and 400 years of trauma? We also got to juxtapose what was provided for members of the Jewish community, which was, quite frankly, community here in America. When they came here, they were provided protections and community under the eyes of the law that allowed them to build some of the fortunes that they were able to build. Let's juxtapose that with what happened with African Americans after the horrifics of slavery. I'll wait. You know, because
we were not only were we not given a leg up, we created our own leg, started our own communities, and they were burned to the ground.
And they were burned to the ground. So Jewish communities were not only allowed to flourish under the eyes of the law and provided for. When African American communities did flourish, they were torn down, burned down, beat down, and then we're being told, well, pull yourselves up by your own bootstraps. It's like, so the epigenetic trauma on multiple levels has to be considered when we start talking about the family, because part of that epigenetic trauma is also induced by the fact that families, particularly black families, were intentionally targeted and ripped apart. You won't believe me? Go look at the records of J. Edgar Hoover and what he was saying back during the civil rights movement, that the school-to-prison pipeline that we see today is not an accident. It was intentionally created to replace the labor force that was needed after slavery was demolished. And so we know that the school-to-prison pipeline, we know 3 strikes and all the other mass incarceration legislations that were created were specifically targeted to certain communities. I say all this to say the black family in particular has been attacked and dismantled at every form. And that is why we as a community have to focus on bringing the anti-racism efforts for ourselves. So, yes, I am all about black first. But then this is also anti-racism has to be part of the fabric of every family, especially here in America, because every family has the ability to be racist. Here's the deal. Either you are going to raise intentional anti-racist because you are in your home talking about race, you're talking about what's happened, you're explaining racialized history and learning together, or you're going to raise accidental racists and show up in my office or some other superintendent's office one day going, I don't know how this happened. I don't know where it came from. So you can either intentionally raise anti-racist or you can accidentally raise racist. The choice is ours to make every single day, and whether or not what we choose is very clear in what we say, what we do, and most importantly, in what we accept. So I say that, and I'll go into that later because I want to pause for a moment before we start talking about what does anti-racist family leadership actually look like in practice, and how can we as families of color and families that are not of color bring this into our homes in a way that does not shame, blame, or victimize, but actually uplifts, empowers, and supports everyone to build this fantastic nation of equity that we know what we want to exist, but we also know does not currently exist. I'll pause.
All right. So I don't even know. There is so much to extrapolate from that long soliloquy that you just gave me. I mean, it's brilliant, right? We talk about this all the time, and I hear black folks say we can't be racist, and I think we're looking at it from the lens of what white people do, but the things we say and do in our home makes a difference, makes a marked difference. I am of Jamaican heritage, and I consistently have the conversation about the xenophobia, the homophobia, the assumptions that we make about black and brown people born and raised in this country, and making sure that we don't perpetuate that madness over and again. But it's going to take all of us to acknowledge, right, that we have to do the work and that we have to be intentional around it. And so we like to look at it from a black and white lens, but I love what you brought up here, that all of us are responsible in some way. And even as black people, some of us have a certain amount of privilege just based on where we've been able to get in this country, right? And some of us have used that privilege and lobbed it to move ourselves away from other black folks because, I used to live there, and if they just can't get themselves together. We make all these assumptions, and we make all these judgment calls against people, and that is why it's so important for us to continue listening and hearing and not forming the opinions in our head about what we think they should be doing and what we think we should be saying. I had a conversation with a white man this morning. God bless his heart. He was coming from a great place, talking about student loan debt, right? But he was like, well, if they can't afford it, they shouldn't. We have, we had to struggle to get there. And I looked at it and I said, he still doesn't get that by the mere fact that he is a white man living in America, he has 5 times the leg up of the average black person that lives here, even when they make the same income, even when they are more degreed, but the messaging that has been fed into so many of our souls is, they're just wasting their money. They shouldn't be able to do this. And if they want to do this, pull themselves up. It's difficult and it's traumatizing as hell. And so this conversation is so good. So let's go. Let's have the conversation around how do we make these shifts and changes without blame and shame in the families that we're in.
So the way that we purport to do this is by, first of all, taking an introspective look at ourselves and also looking at our upbringing. I am the first to say I am my daddy's dream and my mother's dream. My parents were, both of them came from, and I'll just be honest, when it came to financially, we didn't have much money, but both sides of my family had a lot of heart and a lot of love. But heart and love does not pay the bills. And so at the end of the day, my dad worked very hard to provide for myself and my brother so that we were that first generation that did not have to deal with issues of poverty. And so I say that very consciously because my story and my mind frame and my worldview does not have that. But I understand and I can empathize with my sisters and brothers that do because I got it through my father. He made it very clear to us, just because you may not have struggled financially does not mean that there are not other people that do struggle financially. You need to understand what that means and why your job is, if you've been pulled out of it, your job is to go back and pull somebody else with you. That is my expectation. And so that being said, there are 5 areas of leadership legacy that we focus on in our organization. And what this is about leading our families by generating and developing leadership in ourselves and our children. 5 areas of family leadership. The first is personal leadership, leading of yourself, your culture, and your immediate family. This is your relationship with something larger than yourself, your health, your wellness, your well-being. Are you taking care of your body? And are we intentionally teaching our kids, not just with our words, but with our actions, how to take care of themselves? Do they understand and believe, I'm a Christian, but everybody doesn't have to be Christian, but do they understand that there is something bigger than yourself in this world? This helps get our children out of this narcissistic natural state that children come into the world naturally narcissistic. That's why they cry in the middle of the night. They don't care that you need to sleep. It's all about them, right? And so they come in naturally narcissistic. It's our job to help them see that the world is bigger than you and it doesn't revolve around you. That's all part of personal leadership. And guess who's not responsible for that? The school is not responsible for that. Your mama's not. You as a parent are responsible for the personal leadership you develop and demonstrate for your children. The second area is home leadership, taking care of a house and making it a home. I can't tell you how many kids, and my own son included, so these all came from personal experience. My own son is now a sophomore at Tuskegee University. I want to shout out to him. He's on the football team. He's a homeowner. He does a lot of great things. But why is he a homeowner at 19 years old? Because we started financial leadership very early. And also, he needs to learn how to take care of his own house with us guiding him. Something that we have in our community, and I don't know where it came from, that at 18 years old, our job at parenting is done. That's the biggest lie that anybody has ever told you. I have children that belong to me that are between the ages of, I have one that's 27, I believe she is now, 27, 26. I know, God forbid, give me, all the way to 4. And I am parent to each and every one of them in a different way based on what they need. So home leadership, teaching our kids how to take care of a house, operate it, to be able to do the work in the home, budget, all of those things that it takes to run a home is important to explicitly teach. The third area is financial leadership. How are you teaching your kids deliberately and explicitly how to handle money? Do they understand the difference between loans and grants, between interest, compound interest? Do they understand the difference between a budget and your bank account? Because your bank account is not your budget. Do they understand how to actually have their money work for them? Do they understand the stock market and how that functions? And you can start them very early. The fourth area is relational leadership. And this is how they communicate and conflict and have relationships with one another. With our community, I can't tell you how hard it is, especially amongst Black women in particular, how hard it is sometimes for us to get along. Now, we have to teach our kids how to conflict in a healthy way. They're not going to learn it by osmosis, and they're definitely not going to learn it if the way that we have conflict is in any way indicative of what's going to happen in the future. It's not healthy. It's not sound, and it's just something that is not going to work for our society. We've got to teach our kids how to have positive relationships. The fifth and final area, and I say this very poignantly, is the only responsibility that the schools share with us. Everything else is our responsibility as parents. The only responsibility that schools share is the professional leadership development. That's developing the skills that you need to do the job or the career that's going to make you money, that your financial leadership is going to show you how to make work for you. The school's only job is to provide the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. Now, they've taken on a lot over the years, but that is it. And so we have to ask ourselves as a community a question. How are we intentionally focusing on all 5 areas of leadership as we are raising and rearing children? How are we utilizing our community and our village to do our work? Or are we so focused on everybody else and what everybody else is doing or not doing for or with us that we lose sight of what we can do in our own homes? Same thing goes for people that are non-Black, people of color, and people that are not of color. How are you raising your kids where they focus on what they could do to eliminate racism, as opposed to destructive mindsets about how racism doesn't exist? We've got it. We've got the power. We've got to use it.
Deborah.
Yes.
Oh my God, this is so good. This is so good. We have to say goodbye because we have 2 minutes left, but this is so good. Can you come back, please, and continue to have this conversation with us, Dr. Shelley Holt? You are hitting every nail on every head, on every level. And you've confirmed so much about how we need to work with and manage each other, that it comes from our personal responsibility in so many ways. And the finger pointing and the blaming and this is so good. I can't thank you both enough. Is there any last thing you'd like to say? Well, we have 1 minute left now. And can you come back, Deborah, can you bring her back like in the next week or so?
I will definitely bring her back. And only recommendation I have is just to marinate in what Dr. Shelley just shared.
Yes.
That's all the recommendation I have today.
Oh, my God. Dr. Shelley Holt, thank you so much. Deborah Keeswright, both of you, thank you so much for a refreshingly honest and just direct conversation. And we want to have part 2 of this coming up soon, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Ma'am.
Bye-bye.
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 Ooh-wee. That was so delicious. I like when my neurons are just firing on all levels. That was such a good conversation, and one that we have to uproot and dissect it and make sure we understand what is it that we're talking about and why we're talking about it, which is why every time someone calls into this radio station or every time I bring a guest on this show, it is for us to see the possibilities and the solutions that are around us where we can help ourselves despite the madness that is going on around us, right? And once we figure that out, we would be unstoppable. WURD Radio is a small business, and we are a focused team of hosts, producers, and staff doing everything we can to serve Black people. We are dedicated to putting the needs of Black folks front and center every day, and we honor the names of those who have made Black history. Yes, there is Dr. King, Shirley Chisholm, Marcus Garvey, Toni Morrison, Malcolm X, and the list goes on. But how are you making Black history? This is one of the most challenging times in history for us, and we need you to stand with us. For $90 per year, which is $1.73 per week, or 24 cents per day, you can take action. Let us know that what we do matters to you. Sign up today at wordradio.com/join now. Upon checkout, type in the name of a person in Black history that you honor or the host that sent you and be heard. Find more information at WURDradio.com/join now. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
I went to check on Pop today. We put our hands up to the glass as if we were touching. But really, the only touching part was that we both tried to smile.
That's no way to say hello or goodbye. COVID-19 vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we'll all still need to help slow the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Did you know you can use LIHEAP to pay your PICO bill? Last year, PICO customers received almost $17 million in free LIHEAP support. This year, take advantage. This deal is first come, first served. Apply now. Call 800-34-HELP-4.
2 powerful musical events from composer Tyshawn Sorey are now available on the Opera Philadelphia channel. Cycles of My Being explores the realities of being a Black man in America today through highly personal songs. Plus, Save the Boys, based on a poem by abolitionist Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, starring countertenor John Holliday, who was recently a finalist on NBC's The Voice. Cycles of My Being and Save the Boys. Watch on demand on the Opera Philadelphia channel. Rent them at operaphila.tv.
This is not a fad for us.
We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not Black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are
Undeniably,
indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media.
WURD.
I would like to play a little tune I just composed not so long ago.
Hey family, do you like hearing the best jazz selections aired by 3 of the best jazz announcers in Philadelphia? Well, tune in to 96.1 FM,
96.1 FM,
and 900 AM, WURD Radio, independent Black media for Freedom Sounds of Jazz.
Freedom Sounds of Jazz.
Hear Freedom Sounds of Jazz 10 p.m. Fridays with your hosts in rotation, Aquila, Jonathan Bay, and David Fritz. That's 10 p.m. Friday nights on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM Independent Black Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I had a riveting conversation with Deborah Keys Wright and Dr. Shelley Jones Holt about anti-racist leadership beginning at home for adults and students. She was so good. For those of us who have been in this business for almost 30 years, everything she said hit home. I had people texting me talking about she is fire. And so I want to bring her back so we can continue to have the dialogue and slow down the conversation so that people can pick up more of what she had to say, because it was a lot. Deborah Keys Wright, if you're listening to this conversation, please post in the social media space, how can people reach Dr. Shelley? She spoke of a Facebook page, and I have so many notes. She gave us so much. The Facebook group is called Anti-Racist Families. So go into that, find her on that Facebook group, and if there's another way to contact her, I'll let you guys know too, okay? All right, thank you so much. Now let me go to the phone calls, because Lord. All right, Rick, Germany, line 3, how are you?
Still alive, my sister, still alive.
Oh, what's going on?
This is Brother Brain Damage. After listening to your last two guests, I just wanted to say that some trauma is unrecoverable, but all trauma is not overwhelming.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was raped as a small boy by a white male in Washington, D.C., and the cops have been playing games in my life ever since. But despite that trauma, I still consider myself a winner. I don't hate all white people. I don't think all Jewish people are greedy and selfish and despicable. But I do the emotional math, you know? One person hurts you, you don't blame the whole race of that people who hurt you. That's all I have for you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Rick said a whole mouthful. And Mecca Shabazz, you're absolutely right. You ever hear me say our children, our children, our children? It's one of the things I even say to my own husband. Kids are baby goats. Don't call them kids. And some people will get it. You know, some folks, it's a rote thing for them to say. But as you get it, you understand. And I got that from Susan L. Taylor from Essence Magazine, who said we have to stop calling children kids. They're not baby goats. Let me move on and take my next call. Tony from North Philly, line 1. How are you?
Oh, hello, Miss Andrea. Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, here you go. What white people don't understand and what black people don't understand about racism, that it's a genetic stress from the womb. When Miss Deborah said at home, right, but home in the womb as those genetic stresses. And when white people are born, it turns into what level of stress are they going to be racist or positive. Even abolitionists, white people, were racist, but they knew their white privilege, but they used it in a positive way. And even we go through genetic stress as black people while we're in the womb. Then when we're born, it shows up as diabetes, cancer, mental problems. We all affected by it. You know, and what we need to do is we need that problem from children when they can start understanding and talking, understand that racism and these genetic stresses are from the womb, and they have to understand that from the time they're born, just as they pick up on racism from the time they're born. We have to all understand that, and that's the power in it. Once we can understand, we start to see ourselves. See, until we do that, we can't see ourselves. That's why white people don't see themselves. They don't understand that they racist from the womb. But how are they going to deal with it as they get older? Are they going to be good abolitionist people, or are they going to be Trump people? You see, and I think that's the problem that's what we just have to keep saying. It's from the womb. You know, and once we can to hear that and hear it over and over and over and over and over, then we start to see ourselves. Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, you're quite welcome, my brother. Enjoy the rest of your day. I want to read something that Rashad Bey said. Also, Andrea, let's be authentic. You were raised in another country and cannot answer for the Afro-American historical experience here. You are absolutely right. On city council, I am burned out from the Negroes, the mismanagement and corruptivity, my own word. I agree with Prince, who says cut all the salaries and see who doesn't want to be in those jobs real fast. How can I get in touch with Prince? I'll find out from Prince, how he can Prince can call in and tell Michael how people can reach him. I have to agree with you, Rashad. It's something that I am learning more and more every day. And as I juxtapose my own culture, where I was born and raised, and the things that I believed in, versus what I see here in America, and how my sons had to be raised. Now, I was not raised here, but my sons were born and raised in this. And it is, if I didn't have something else that I was raised under to understand just how powerful my voice is and what I'm able to do, and that I don't have to take what other people say to me, I would probably be feeling the level of despair that many people feel. I have this conversation with my friend Denise all the time when I say, well, why can't you? And she says, you don't understand, Andrea. You were not born under this. And so I am learning. I want to thank you for pointing that out, Rashad, because it is exactly right. As much as I want to tell you that I understand to the level that you understand, unless you are born and raised in this level of oppression in this country, it is a very difficult thing to explain. I was born and raised somewhere else, and everybody told me that I could do whatever the hell I wanted to do, however the hell I wanted to do it, and all my leaders and everybody looked like me, and that if I decided I wanted to get something done, I could get it done. I come to America, and I'm like, what now? My head's swiveling. Like, what? And so you see and that's why we say when we look at different cultures, we have to be very understanding and very careful about the things we say and the things that we do and the assumptions that we make, right? Coming from the lens that we're viewing things from. So I had to unlearn a lot of things when I got to America and relearn and adjust. And I'm still learning about the history of this place and what that makes, which is why I keep talking about the cast, the books. I'm reading book after book after book and consistently coming before you saying, help me. Help me as I'm trying to help you, right? And to help all of us here in this country, because I would like it or not, I live here, right? And so now I am under the same oppressive system. I might not have been born underneath it, but I am now living underneath it. And so we have to work together to make sure that we can get as many things done as possible so that less of us struggle and die. The epigenetics. I'm going to pull Woody on. Let me take a quick break, and then I want to talk to Woody because I want to read something that Woody sent in, and then I want to talk to Woody. Okay? Let me do this while I'm thinking about it. Hold on. I'm going to do this now so that when I come back, Woody and I can talk. Legends of the airwaves, because I have a little bit of time. So when I was growing up, I remember the smell of popcorn and peanuts at Miss Elizabeth Walker's corner store. I was a fat kid, so my you know what, Woody, I'm going to have to, hold on. Let me pull this up because, and let me tell you why. I can't read this. It's so small. The person that sent it to me, let me pull it up. I'm going to pull it up. Hold on, Woody. I'm not going to let you go. Just hold on. Give more for time. Give another minute. Let me open this up a little bit because I can't see. When I was growing up, I remember the smell of popcorn and peanuts at Miss Elizabeth Walker's corner store. I was a fat kid, so my nose played a big part in my feelings and emotions. Later, as I grew into adulthood, I learned that smells are connected to memory. These memories of the past are like medicine running through the veins of our childhood. The health and well-being of many long-term residents of the neighborhood has been challenged. Sadly, numerous traditions have disappeared in my community because many of my friends and neighbors have been gentrified out of the neighborhood. My mother and father, Mr. James and Miss Gloria Woodard, had a cleaning and tailoring business at 912 South 19th Street. In that building, they raised 10 children. The business was in front of the building, and the family lived in the rest of the 3-story property. On Thanksgiving Day, it was a tradition that the children were not allowed to come downstairs while Mom and Dad were cooking dinner. My dad was a good cook, but I really loved my mom's cooking the best. I remember all of my friends going bowling. All of my friends growing up in the 60s. everyone had a, oh my God, this thing is so small, a transistor radio that we carried around with us everywhere we went. Most of us set the dial to 103.5 WDAS. The Philadelphia disc jockeys in the black community were like gods in the neighborhood to us. We all appreciated the music they played each and every day. Mr. Georgie Woods was one of the most popular DJs on the air. He was known for being Georgie Woods, the guy with the goods. The goods became the music he chose to play on the air each day, just to name a few. That music, considered, this is hard. The Temptations, Aretha Franklin's, Martha and the Vandellas, the Supremes, James Brown, the Four Tops, Sly and the Family Stone, and Little Stevie Wonder with his hit song of the year, Fingertips. There were many other DJs like Jackie Henderson, I hope I have that right, Mr. Sonny Hobson, the Mighty Burner, Carl. I'm sorry, y'all. It's a reprint, and so it's hard. As children, we created new dance steps to go with, along with certain songs. We created dances like the Philly Dog, the Boogaloo, and a dance called the James Brown. Philadelphia became famous for all the new dance steps, which were very popular on Soul Train and around the world. Music became a healing force in the ghetto. No matter how poor you were, you could always dance away most of your problems in the hood. I thank Mr. Cody Anderson, who later became general manager of WDAS Radio. He was a gentle general. He also purchased 2 radio stations, WHAT and WURD. Cody later sold WURD to Dr. Walter Lomax, who was my doctor and South Philadelphia neighbor at 18th and Wharton Streets. He also discovered the first Jamaican DJ on the air, Mr. Lloyd Cummins. Cody also helped many female DJs become popular, like Miss Louise Williams Bishop, Miss Diana Williams, Miss Barbara Grant, and many others. I thank God for the Philadelphia Soul Legends of the airways. They help to bring joy and love through most impoverished communities in around the Philadelphia area. Let me take a quick break, and then when I come back, I'm going to talk to Woody. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Looking for an exciting and well-paying new career opportunity? MCAP is a free manufacturing career accelerator program. In just 7 weeks, learn new career skills, earn industry certifications, and connect to manufacturing companies who are hiring. To see if MCAP is right for you, call 215-770-7101. That's 215-770-7101. MCAP is brought to you by Drexel University's Goodwin College of Professional Studies in partnership with EDSI Incorporated. MCAP is an equal opportunity program. Diverse candidates, including women and people of color, are strongly encouraged to apply.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staton Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staton, Executive Director of LESIT.
The WURD Radio Newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our President and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio Newsletter. Livelihood. WURD Radio's new initiative, connecting Black Philadelphians with jobs, entrepreneurship resources, small business development information, and financial literacy tools. Learn more at wordworks.com. That's WURDWORKS.com. And stay tuned to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Solutions on WURD. Hosted by Dwayne Royster and Amadi Braxton. Solutions on WURD. Exploring solutions to national, state, and local issues through the lens of race and gender. Solutions on WURD. Fridays 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Solutions is sponsored by Power Interfaith Movement, working towards life, liberty, and democracy for all. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Independent Black Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I am so excited to talk to Woody, who I've been asking about for the last several weeks. Woody, are you there?
I'm here, Mother.
How are you? You know, I had to put out the APB on you. I was like, all points bulletin. Where is my Woody?
Well, this is why I love you so much, and I also love your husband. I appreciate that, brother, because he's from South Philly, and he understands everything we're talking about. For you to admit that as an immigrant, that me and your husband and I are non-immigrants. We're the children of those former chattel slaves living in America today. And the rest of the world has to learn who we are. This is why that office is so important, to identify the non-immigrants, children of former chattel slaves. Now, the issue of race, to me, as I look at it, I always say there's only one race called human with many cultures and ethnicities, and there's only one color called melanin with many shades. Now, if everybody in the world believed that, then we would be able to study who brought it up in the first place. Those were white supremacists who did not want to be in the back of the line. The first man on the planet is as dark as space. That's how black he was. And from him came all the other shades of people. But we're all a human race together. Earth is our home. There's nowhere else to go. We live on Earth, but Earth lives in space, so we're living in space as we speak. When you breathe your last breath, the rest of your existence goes back to where it came from.
Right. So Woody, there's a book.
These are small things, and I understand what Miss Shelley was saying. She's right on point about all of these things, but I'm saying the trick is you keep going around in circles. Racism can't exist if there's only one race. We got bigotry, hatred, prejudice, discrimination, all of those, white supremacy. They're real words that we need to study and find out if we ever want to come out of this. But do you know what? The big shots don't want you to come out because they keep the musical chairs of recidivism rolling.
So, Woody, there's a book that I'm reading now. Listen to me, Woody, for a second. There's a book I'm reading now called Caste, C-A-S-T-E, written by Isabel Wilkerson. I'd like you to put it in your barbershop. This book is so riveting, and everything you talked about, sir, and then some, is in this book. Everything, right? So I want to thank you. I did get to read your piece. I couldn't get it.
Look, I appreciated that so much. Thank you so much. Talking about Georgie was, we can't know where we're going till we know where we came from. That's why I want this barbershop to be a museum. It needs to share with the younger people the value of the elders and what they stood for. Once they understand that, they'll realize they've been hoodwinked, they've been tricked, they've been bamboozled to believe that they're lesser of a race than someone who is of lighter hue. You're the beginning. You're the first man on the planet that came out of you, everyone else, as a human race. Know where you stand. And once we break it down, you understand guns don't kill people. People do. It's the mindset. I want to use this barbershop to change the mindset of what these young people do before they ever get their hand on a gun, because the gun can't kill anybody.
Thank you so much, sir.
Does that. Yes, ma'am.
It's so awesome hearing from you. Call me back again, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, bye-bye. All right, we got to get from Woody. Now, listen, I have Jacob, Gary, and Phil, and I have a guest waiting on the line. So I'm going to ask you all to help Mother, to help me out so we can move along quickly, right? So, all right, Jacob, what's going on, sir?
Hey, peace be unto you, my sister. How
Peace
you
be unto you, my brother. How are you?
Oh, I'm blessed. But, to make it quick, you might not be, the ancestry right from America here, but suffering, right? And suffering anywhere, suffering everywhere. And just like Woody say, like myself, I'm an American, with ancestry that go 400 years back in this country. We should be of the most sensitive people of oppression, but yet, your guest showed us that sometimes we're not, because we'll look down on the LGBTQ community at times because something in us I don't know, that it's not even human, it's inhuman thing that always wants to put down another human being for some reason.
So we can elevate ourselves. And
Yeah,
so when
exactly.
we consider ourselves the lowest caste, we don't want to be at the lowest bottom of the rung. So we have to find somebody else to put down so that we can feel better about who we are. It's all about it's the trauma, right? And we keep passing it on over and again. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
And that's what Woody was talking about. It's one human family, and we all a part of it, because I believe that there's one creator who created us all, and he wants us to do the Rodney King. Can't we all learn to get along, right?
But you know, Jacob, this book that I'm reading, Caste, by Isabel Wilkerson, let me tell you this. There was a study done in 2000 that showed that Black, white, Indian, Latino were all 99.9% the same. It was human beings that decided to create. You're white, I'm white, so I'm better than you. You're Latino, so you're in the middle spot. You're Black, so you're in a lower caste. And this is done deliberately. And when we get that, we won't fight with each other so much, because then we understand working together, we can get so much more done, right?
Yeah,
we
don't follow science, because science tells us that the human being and animals adapt to their environment. We see animals that was at one time fish, but when they came on land, they grew legs, right?
Yep.
You see people that was black in Africa, but when they migrated to, places where the sun wasn't too much, Europe or something, well, then they changed, right? But they're still human. So we're getting there. We got to keep moving.
We are. Thank you so much, so much, Jacob. All right, bye-bye. Gary, how are you, sir?
How are you,
Gary?
Yes, how are you? You hear me?
I'm good. Yes, I can. What's going on, sir?
No, I was just listening to the discussion. I just want to real quickly say, in reference to us as ancestors of people who were once enslaved, we've endured a lot. And I heard part of the conversation, like some of us were prejudiced against Asians and other groups of people. And I kind of disagree with that, because we didn't ask to come here, but we built America and made it the country it is today. And we have no power, no clout to do anything. And then we have people who are in positions that look like us that should be helping to elevate or improve our condition, and it's not happening. And I think we're frustrated. We're really frustrated.
But you know why? But you know why they're not helping to improve our conditions? When they came here, because their skin complexion is so similar to that of the dominant caste. Dominant caste told them, if you want anything done, you're going to have to do things our way. They didn't want to be, even though they are considered minorities, quote unquote. They didn't want to be considered the lowest caste. So this is all a part of the mental stuff that is thrown our way, right? To make us fight against each other and find our own corners and do what we want to do to make sure that we get where we are. So I hear you. I absolutely hear you. But there's a reason why it's happening.
We shouldn't be like that. We got to be on one accord. Thank you.
All right, Gary. Thank you so much. Phil, quickly, how are you?
All right, how are you?
I'm good, sir.
2 days in a row. I'm getting scared of you, Gail. Listen,
what's going on, sir?
Real quick. Where did the dark race come from?
That was
Everybody has a connection to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we make up the 12 tribes, all of us worldwide. Why are we stuck on somebody else's definitions of things? Come on. We are one big race family. We are the it. We are the chosen. Come on, how far do we got to go? This oppressor is spending trillions of dollars to keep us hypnotized. But just think about it, Andrea. We all came out of the house of Israel. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's who we all attached to. And lastly, though Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're the original Jews. That's what make you and me that's what make me and you a Jew. But see, I don't want to do it over word. I just love your program. You're a dynamite sister, and we got so many warriors out of your country that came here and got the work done. That, you know, I'm ashamed of us sometimes.
Because it was a trauma. It was a trauma. We're doing the best that we can. We all are doing the best that we can, right? And for those of us who come from other countries who have had more of a leg up in terms of the lack of emotional trauma that's been inflicted. I'm not saying we didn't have trauma in Jamaica, because Lord Jesus, we did. Right? But we came here, and so the trauma it wasn't as pervasive. It was a different kind of trauma than the trauma that is happening here and continues to happen here in America. So I get it.
Plus, y'all knew y'all was family, see, but look at all the leaders we got here. I think what's his name, Marcus Garvey,
Farrakhan.
All of them came out of Jamaica, man. Come on, we won. But you know, I'm gonna sit back and watch the movie because you know they don't want me to say too much no more. So I'm gonna sit back and help you out when I can, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
A breath of fresh air, and you don't kill the messenger, and I like the way you handle that show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you.
And have a blessed day.
You too, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye. Keena Sears Brown, are you there? Good afternoon.
I am here, Andrea. How are you?
Oh, I just want to thank you for giving me a little bit of time to catch up with the WURD listeners. They call in. I try to, you know, to not brush them off and hear what they have to say. And so I want to thank you for your patience in holding on. Okay? You ready now?
Oh, I'm ready. And I actually was enjoying the conversation. So no worries.
Oh, that's good. All right. So Keena Sears Brown is the Director of Continuing Professional Education and Workforce Initiatives at Goodwin College of Professional Studies. She oversees non-credit professional development courses and workshops at Goodwin College. She established the Skills Hub, a lifelong learning community designed to connect incumbent workers, emerging professionals, and displaced adults to industry credentials and skill-building workshops. I cannot wait to have this conversation with you. Welcome to The Source. Let's talk about MCAP. This is the Manufacturing Career Accelerator Program. What is that about, and what would the average WURD listeners need to know about MCAP?
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to say, you know, I'm representing Drexel University, our local university, and when most people think about any kind of university, they think four-year degrees, right? It's the first thing that's top of mind. And so over the last couple of years at Drexel, we've really been looking at ways to connect more with the community, to connect more with Black and brown people, to get them connected, not just to, you know, get them on a path to degree attainment, but actually to get them in a growth and a lifelong learning mindset, whether they decide to pursue a degree or not. So how we're doing that, Andrea, is through MCAP, which is the Manufacturing Career Accelerator Program. It's a 7-week virtual, free, and I said free, certification professional development training that you can take advantage of from the comfort of your home. So
wait a minute.
Yeah, let's slow down.
No cost. It's free. It's a free 7-week workforce readiness program for unemployed people of color and women, which is designed to prepare for manufacturing careers with regional employees. Oh, come on.
We have a network of manufacturers in the area who are looking to hire graduates of this program. So let me just walk you through it. If you are currently unemployed, and there's been 250,000 unemployment claims since March of last year, and we know the pandemic is still in full effect, right? Brown and Black people are being displaced at an alarming rate. A lot of them, you know, have been in jobs for years, working in the hotel industry or just working in a totally unrelated field of manufacturing. Now they find themselves without a job. What we're hoping to do with MCAP is to give these unemployed or severely underemployed residents of Philadelphia an opportunity to earn industry credentials that are going to give you a leg up to compete in the manufacturing industry. So over the 7 weeks, from the comfort of your home, it's a virtual course. You're going to earn an OSHA 10 certification, which, as you know, any kind of industrial trade, you'll need OSHA 10 to be, you know, considered the safety expert, that you're aware of those kind of safety requirements, and then you're going to earn a process improvement certification, which is a Lean Six Sigma continuous professional education certification that employers use across the board in manufacturing and many other industries. So we were very deliberate about equipping, participants of this program with those industry credentials that no one can take away from you. These jobs that we're talking about in manufacturing, Andrea, include things like production, quality assurance people, machinists. We're talking about entry-level positions that are earning over $15 an hour. I think is an important piece, to call out, because now, the call is to get jobs to be at least $15 an hour. We have employers who are willing to pay that and more.
Oh, wow. So tell me again what some of the industry employers are.
Some of the industry employers that we have is a local helicopter manufacturer in the region. We also have, companies that make plastics. They're all local manufacturers, some in the Northeast region, some, in the Navy shipyard area across the Philadelphia. We have about 80 employers who are waiting for these MCAP graduates to hire them, to interview them for jobs in manufacturing. So in addition to the industry certifications, we're also going to layer in some leadership, skill building opportunities, some leadership workshops, as well as giving you the resources on how to even pivot into a new career. Like, that's not an easy thing. If you've been working in a certain field for 20 years and now you find yourself unemployed, you need help to kind of look at what skills you have now and how you can transfer them into a new industry. So we'll help you with that as well. Like I said, it's a 7-week free program. Our first session is starting on March 1st, so pretty quickly. But we will have 2 additional opportunities for folks to become, enrolled in May and July. But we want to kick this first cohort off, nice, and really give people a leg up pretty soon if you're unemployed, if you find yourself unemployed.
Right. So here is someone wanted to know what MCAP stands for. It's Manufacturing Career Accelerator Program, MCAP, Manufacturing Career Accelerator Program. How can they reach you to sign up for this free program that will help them pivot into new careers?
Yep, it's going to help you pivot into the manufacturing industry. And I want to say, before I give out the call, I want to tell WURD listeners, there's more to manufacturing than you realize. A lot of times, Andrea, people think it's a dusty warehouse place or a conveyor belt. Manufacturing is so technologically advanced now, and there are opportunities for people that are ready to work, to have a work mindset, to get into these careers earning $15 or more per hour. So 2 things I'd like WURD listeners to connect with me. First, we're having an information session tonight. So WURD listeners, if you want to join us tonight and ask questions about MCAP, you can do so. All you need to do to get the hookup with the link for the information session tonight is to email me. You would just email me at kena.sears@drexel.edu. So I'll spell that out. Kena, Kena, .Sears, SEARS, @drexel.edu. Once you email me, just put MCAP in the subject line. I'm going to send you the link for the special information session tonight. We do have some seats still available for the information session. And then if you're interested in applying for MCAP, or you know someone that's interested, or to really use these industry-valued credentials and training, all you have to do is call 215-770-7101. Once again, 215-770-7101. And on the other end of that number is a career navigator, which will, give you additional information and just talk you through and see where you are in your career and what you're thinking about, and see how MCAP might be the right fit for you.
This is awesome information. Someone wanted to know if you offer soft skills, teach people soft skills training.
Absolutely. We call them essential skills because they are. So remember, I referenced the career building workshops and leadership. So you are not only going to get the soup and nuts about the manufacturing industry and what's it all about, and get connected to employers through mock interviews and all that good stuff. You'll also get really essential workplace skills. We're really cognizant of the digital literacy issue here in Philadelphia. So that's why we provide you with a Chromebook. A free Chromebook is part of it that has all the information downloaded. You'll also get
Wait a minute, they get a free Chromebook?
Oh, yeah, you get a free Chromebook. For those of you that are interested, or you know someone that don't have a computer, you'll get a free Chromebook as part of MCAP. And it'll have, everything preloaded for you to be able to participate in the 7-week training session from your home. Yes,
Wow.
it's virtual. So, yes, to answer the question, career essential skill building, what others call soft skilling, is embedded in the MCAP curriculum. So I really think people, we just as the first step, attend the information session tonight. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Just send me a quick email, keena.sears@drexel.edu, and I'll send you the link to the Zoom session tonight where you can ask even more questions about MCAP. And then, like I said, if you'd like to talk to a career navigator and just talk through your unique situation, or if you have someone in mind, you can give us a call at 215-770-7101.
This is not the first time you've done this. You were so clean and smooth with the way you did this. I am so impressed. Thank you very much. I didn't have to drag you, pull you, tug you. So this is great. So it's email key. Yes, someone asked again. It's in the Facebook box, but it's Keena.Sears, KENA.SEARS @drexel.edu. For the information session, and she'll let you know if you don't have an email, 215-770-7101. This was such a good conversation. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful afternoon, okay?
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your listeners.
You're welcome, and if you want to come back to talk about the July and August sessions, feel free to come on back, because this is a solution for people who can't find jobs right now. Okay, and it's free. And it's free.
That's the big word. Yep, it's free, and it's so important now to get into really good careers, livable wages that are long-term. So we're really excited to bring this opportunity to WURD listeners. So thank you so much, and I'll take you up on your offer to come back. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Have a good one, okay?
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
WURD Radio celebrates Black History Month with Black Artist Story 365. Brought to you by Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School.
Welcome to Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. Get into this episode where we explore the art and artistry of revolutionary poet Gil Scott-Heron. King Gil was born in Chicago, Illinois. His mother, Bobby Scott, was an opera singer who performed with the New York Oratorio Society. His father, Gil Heron, nicknamed the Black Arrow, was a Jamaican soccer player in the 1950s who became the first black man to play for the Celtic Football Club in Glasgow. What? Heron decided to attend Lincoln University because Langston Hughes, his most important literary influence, was an alumnus. After about 2 years at Lincoln, he took a year off to write the novels The Vulture and The Nigger Factory. Uncle Gil was very heavily influenced by the Black arts movement and the Last Poets. Although King Uncle Gil never completed his undergraduate degree, he was admitted to the writing seminars at Johns Hopkins University, where he received an MA, that's a Master of Arts, in creative writing. His music, most notably on the albums Pieces of a Man and Winter in America in the early 1970s, influenced and foreshadowed later black music genres such as hip-hop and neo-soul. King Duke Uncle Gil is considered by many to be the first rapper/MC ever. His recording work received much critical acclaim, especially one of his best-known compositions, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised.
You
will not be able to stay home, brother.
Given the political consciousness that lies at the foundation of his work, we'll say star Uncle Gil was the founder of political rap.
You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised.
So that's it for this episode of Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. To hear more, tune in to The Envy McKee Show, Friday nights, 7 to 10 p.m., right here on WURD.
Black Artist Story 365 was brought to you by Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School and the Pennsylvania Lottery. Get to winning with Win, 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 the new scratch-off from the Pennsylvania Lottery, with top prizes of $500,000. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day.
Hi, this is retired Judge Thomasine Tynes, inviting you to tune in this Sunday at 4 p.m. with the Judge and Jetty Show with attorney Jetty Newkirk. Learn about a lot of things you may just not know.
Keeping you informed. As a community service, WURD Radio and the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium wants to keep you informed about access to the COVID-19 vaccine. The Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium will conduct a 24-hour Phase 1B vaccination clinic for residents in designated prioritized zip codes, Friday, February 19th from 12 noon until Saturday, February 20th at 12 noon at Temple University's Liacouras Center. No appointment is necessary. First come, first served. For a list of prioritized zip codes, visit blackdoctorsconsortium.com. Stay informed and stay well with WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I think you better call Tyrone. Call him. Hi, Tyrone. How are you?
Mother.
What did I do now?
Still lifted from yesterday. I am telling you, when the WURD family get together, all of the powerful, strong, my word, magnificent hosts, and all in one room. Mm-hmm. Oh man, you talking about what more? When she asked the question, what more can be done? I'm like, I don't know. We couldn't get it already doing everything. Yeah. So I just wrote this. WURD 900 AM 96.1 FM. Our shared connection. The mirror of our reflection. It magnifies our voices. It amplifies our shared thoughts, ideas, and concerns. And we speak of truth to power. It is our boombox for the voiceless. And we thank each and every one of you each and every day for doing what y'all do to help us be the best that we can be, get the best that we can be in our community. I love you. I love you.
Oh, my gosh. Hold on one second, Tyrone. Michael, pull just that whole thing that Tyrone just spoke about and send it to Sarah Lomax Reese for me, please. That was perfect about the way the WURD listeners feel about this radio station. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. We get on here every day. We're not perfect people. We try the best that we can, which is why when I come on here and I'm having one of those days and I'm like, America, not feeling so good today. And I'll tell you why. Why I'm in the space that I am in, right? It's just so much on us. And so one of the things I said yesterday when we were talking as hosts before we got on the air, or I may have said it on the air, is that those of us who are hosts at this radio station cannot afford to be insolent in the way we carry and manage the extreme power that we have, right? Dr. Lomax was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and he worked very hard, right, to not only gain his medical degree. He worked hard to set up his practices and made enough money. He wasn't rich. He became wealthy and turned it into one of the radio stations that he bought so that we could have a voice and power to do the things that we need to do. And so we are ill-advised as hosts to get on this air and talk to the WURD listeners like they don't have any good God diggity dang sense. We are ill-advised to get on this air and not give you all the best programming we can possibly give you at any given time, at any given day. right? It is
Yes,
not
Lord.
about us. It is never about us. The privilege for us is to be able to sit in front of this microphone and talk to you, right? And listen from you, and listen to you, and learn from you. This city is whoo, I don't have words for what's going on in this city right now. And we see balls being moved all over the place. We see cups being turned over. We see everybody jockeying for position. And our role on this radio station is to make sure that people get the best information so that they can make the right decision to help our city get out of this, I call it a fire dumps, right? So
the beauty and the essence of what beauty is on one end, and looking at the news of, 8 people being shot at a bus station at the other end, man,
Yes.
it just does something to your spirit.
Yes.
But
Agreed.
all in all, you can't take nothing away from the station, because y'all do it all for everyone. Love you, Mother.
Love you too,
Mother,
Tyrone.
love.
Take it easy, okay? Be good.
Okay,
I keep
take
telling
it.
the folks at WURD that everybody calls me Mother. When they're doing these things for these promotions, don't put it Andrea, put in Mother, M-U-V-A. That's what everybody called me since the first day I got on the air and says, this is Divine Mother Diva talking to all of you. It stuck. You all still call me Mother. Love you, my brother. Take it easy, okay?
Okay, God bless.
All right, bye-bye. All right, so Georgie, Porgy, Pudding, and Pie, you're back. What's up, George?
Well, we were talking about the thing up there at Gordon Olney, and you were saying, hold on a minute, you had a question. So you said,
Yes.
make sure you call back. I mean, the question, let me say it like this here. You have all those different types of police enforcement up there. The Asian business community up there, they hire police. You can hire police for an event or security or whatever,
right.
when they're off duty. They hire police. They're there 24 hours a day when not 24, whatever their businesses is open.
Right.
They're there. Police, they have the car, they have that, and they just constantly, taking care of the area they're supposed to take care of. Now, if you got 4 or 5 extra police there, and then you have LaSalle, you have all those different police around, why is it that nobody was around then? I mean, maybe it was coincidental or however it was. But the point is, just to have the nerve to come up there and do all what was done, that's a big volume, And then people, it was a real showcase today for council. Because why? They all had something to say and do nothing. It's not rocket science to stop it. If they want to stop it, they can stop it.
Let me ask you this, George. George, I'm asking you this for clarity. I need some clarity. The Asian community hire police officers. Are these off-duty police officers?
Yeah, they have to be off-duty for somebody.
I'm not making any assumptions. I ain't making no assumptions. That's why I'm asking.
You're doing right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, if you have an event, you can go and hire, they'll send a police. You just have to pay whatever it is. I mean, cheap, I'm quite sure, but they do that, and that's why a lot of their stores and all that, they don't get robbed or people know, man, people protect it. And listen, it's a whole lot of stuff that go on that people know and people don't know. It's like, the police they don't care. They're only doing all those police together. It's a brotherhood. They all in this together. They may not agree, or they're going to agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, they all together. Now, like I say, and it's been proven. Ever since I told you that, it's been happening just like I say. It play out, and it's only going to get worse. And ain't nobody going to stop them until you have some fools go there and be man enough to say, look, man, we had a differences. Let's try to squash this because people are dying. And it's black people are dying. And it's white folks that you got the problem with. Plain and simple as that. I don't care how much money you put in it. Now, some people get offended when you talk about deaf hustlers, Mova. But why would you get offended if it ain't you? The only people get offended about something if it's them. If you're not a deaf hustler, why would you care about what somebody say about deaf hustlers? We have more deaf hustlers in this city than anybody in the country.
Explain to Mother what is a death hustler. I don't understand that.
A death hustler is a person who chased death on the thing of a program. All these people got programs. Ask yourself, what do they do for that money? Ask yourself, what do they do for that money?
Otherwise known as nonprofits.
Yeah, listen, I don't know if it's a profit. It's a profit group. They call themselves nonprofit, but if you look at their bank accounts, they all got nice bank accounts for their nonprofit, and they go to the best of places. When they go, they don't stay in those sleazy hotels. They don't double up in rooms. They get suites.
So George, let me say this. Let me say this, George. Let me say this, George. I know nonprofits that are doing the work, and really you can see the tangible changes that they're making. However, to your point, there are far too many nonprofits in this city that have millions of dollars at their bottom line, and they keep saying, well, we're here to collect data. We're not really here to serve the people. We're here to collect data so we can give it back to the federal government so that they can give us more money to collect more data about what's going on in the communities, and no solutions are truly happening. And so the term death hustlers now makes sense to me. So thank you for that lesson.
The only people who argue about death hustlers is the people who either you're a death hustler because you got offended by it, or your group is hustling death. Because if you're not part of something, then don't bother me. As far as I'm concerned, it is. And some of these death hustlers even got pensions out of it, okay? People got pensions out of it. That's how well it's done. But then people want to get offended when you tell the truth. You know, now if everybody was getting on here, and if I was saying anything wrong, they'd be dead on it. Oh, he's lying, this and that, blah, 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 blah. But remember this here. City Hall is bullied. Those council people, they're professional bullies. Now, when you get Sweetness on here, Curtis Jones, he's the best there is.
Okay, you know where you and I lose each other when you start calling people names. Stop calling people names.
That's a good name. What are you talking about? That's what they call him. He is very good with elderly women. They love him. You know why? Kurt tell them everything they want to hear. He sit there and take pictures with them. Mom, you're sweet, this, that. I mean, Kurt's going to come on your show. Trust me, he's going to come. Now, when you might be able to trick Curtis up a little bit, but he's exceptionally sharp because he prepares himself for this. He prides himself on that. Curtis is, listen, he's one of them council people I like because he know who he is and what he do. He's in charge of public safety. All them hearings they have is among themselves, okay? When they talk about, well, we're going to have a hearing, yeah, among yourself. You don't see no federal. You don't see no state. You don't see no other agency in there. You don't even see the police commissioner in there. You see them in there talking among themselves, and that amounts to nothing. Nothing. Now, wait till the budget come out. Kenny's going to reward, and he's going to punish. Watch all his flunkies get what they want. The ones that do what you're told, keep your mouth shut, do what you're told, and keep it moving. And they're the ones that are going to get rewarded. Now, the ones who try to be a little rebellious, they ain't going to get nothing. Kenny don't care. He's a lame duck. He's on his way out. Either you in or you out. Either you down or you're not. Hey, plain and simple as that. Everybody want to make like it's rocket science. This death is only going to get worse. These killings, they're out of control, and they're going to get more out of control because one council like it because they're going to run off. They're the real death hustlers because instead of them going to who they supposed to go to and say, look, what y'all better do is go ahead and straighten this mess out so all this crap can stop. Why should they? They got something to talk about because they don't have nothing else to talk about with this pandemic. All they do is sit home, eat, have a good time, sleep, get on Zoom. That's all.
I hear you. So let me say this. I gotta go, George, but let me say this to you, and I want you to hear me very clearly. Part of the thing that folks will have with you is because they say that you're always fussing and complaining and you don't have any solutions. But I'm going to tell you this. I have gone back. Listen to me. I have gone back and researched a good portion of what you have said. And when I dig into it and start calling the people that I know, they're like, yep, you're absolutely right. So for me, for you, it's the delivery. A mother's begging you, don't call nobody no names on here. Just don't call names. Just don't call them names. Just say such and such and such did such and such and such, And so we can get because you're bringing good meat and information, it just gets lost in the translation sometimes. But I do love you, my brother.
You ever notice every time I say one of them's name, unless it's a real scary type elected official, it's usually in good grace. Now I gave Curtis good grace.
Yes, you did. And every once in a while, let me just throw it out there. Every once in a while, you say something nice about somebody. I praise the Lord and pass the mustard seed.
It's not about you know what they thank you is, and they saying something nice, their paycheck. Like Prince say, this is a part-time job. I mean, who gets $135,000 at part-time?
Yeah, yep, and really not being held accountable to the way they should be. Agreed. I gotta go, George. It's like 3:42. I got other things to do, man. I love you. You've been on here twice today.
Love you.
All right.
Have a
Talk
good
to you
one.
later.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, honey. Bye-bye. All right. Now, there's always some meat. Every meat. Remove the meat. Take the bones. Spit out the bones. George ain't as crazy as you think he is. He just, the way he delivers makes you all go, here comes George again. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Two powerful musical events from composer Tyshawn Sorey are now available on the Opera Philadelphia channel. Cycles of My Being explores the realities of being a black man in America today through highly personal songs. Plus, Save the Boys, based on a poem by abolitionist Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, starring countertenor John Holliday, who was recently a finalist on NBC's The Voice. Cycles of My Being and Save the Boys. Watch on demand on the Opera Philadelphia channel. Rent them at operaphila.tv.
WURD Radio celebrates Black History Month with Black Artist Story 365. Brought to you by Pico and JD's Auto Body.
Welcome to Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. Get into this episode where we explore the art and artistry of Academy Award-winning production designer Hannah Beachler. Hannah Beachler is an American production designer. Madam Beachler grew up in Centerville, Ohio, and graduated from the University of Cincinnati, where she studied fashion design. Then she attended Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio, where she studied film. Her first major collab was with the celebrated director Ryan Coogler on 2013's Fruitvale Station. Coogler later hired her to work as his production designer on Creed, and then later on, Black Panther. Hannah's set design work can also be seen in the Miles Davis biopic Miles Ahead and for the film Moonlight. While we could say her coup de production gras was her Afrofuturist design direction swag in Black Panther, let us all bow down and agree that her design work for Beyoncé's 2016 TV special and visual album Lemonade is the visual holy grail. Of course, now she's an Academy Award winner and the first African-American woman to be nominated or to win an Oscar for Best Production Design. Okay? We honor the art and artistry of star cousin Hannah Beachler. So that's it for this episode of Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. To hear more, tune in to The Envy McKee Show, Friday nights, 7 to 10 p.m., right here on WURD.
Black Artist Story 365 is brought to you by Pico, powering communities, and JD's Auto Body and Painting for all your auto body and detailing needs.
I went to check on Pop today. We put our hands up to the glass as if we were touching. But really, the only touching part was that we both tried to smile.
That's no way to say hello or goodbye. COVID-19 vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we'll all still need to help slow the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Tune in every Saturday at 4 p.m. for the Did You Know Show with host Bryant Green, right here on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I'm sure you all heard by now that Carson Wentz was traded. And we'll talk about that at another time. He just is low on the radar screen for me at this point because he was someone who came in here, didn't want to work well with anyone, talked about he didn't really want to play for the team, pouting and carrying on. They didn't even get any money for trading him. So crazy. But that's what happens when you choose flash and glamour over consistency and hard work. Moving on. This just in from CNN. Senator Ted Cruz and his family flew to Cancun, Mexico. He confirmed in a statement as a winter disaster in his home state left millions without power and water. Cruz, a Texas Republican, said in the statement he flew down for a night because his daughters asked to take a trip with friends, auntie. With schools canceled for the week, our girls asked to take a trip with friends. Wanting to be a good dad, I flew down with them last night and I'm flying back this afternoon, he said in the statement. While everybody in Texas is under a tundra, icicles are coming down out of people's stuff inside their homes, by the way, out of their fans. And Shireen and Michelle, I just happened to open up Facebook because I've got four devices going on here at once. She says, I can't blame Ted Cruz. Blame the people that keep electing him. Same can be true for a lot of elected officials that are living the glamorous life while their districts are suffering. Amen, somebody. Amen, somebody. But y'all don't want us to talk about that because you know who they talking about. Can't be talking about me. You should not get into leadership if you cannot take constructive criticism. You should not get into leadership if people can't tell you that you're not doing a good job and you can see the suffering all around you and you're sucking your teeth and behaving as if you're above the fray. God don't like ugly and he ain't fond of cute either. Moving right along, Fox 29, U.S. life expectancy drops a full year in COVID-19 pandemic, the most since World War II. Life expectancy in the United States dropped a staggering 1 year during the first half of 2020 as the coronavirus pandemic caused its first wave of deaths, health officials are reporting. Minorities suffered the biggest impact, with Black Americans losing nearly 3 years and Hispanics nearly 2 years, according to preliminary estimates Thursday from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This is a huge decline, said Robert Anderson, who oversees the numbers for the CDC. You have to go back to World War II, the 1940s, to find a decline like this. Other health experts say it shows the profound impact of COVID-19, not just on deaths directly due to infection, but also from heart disease, cancer, and other conditions. What is really striking in these numbers is that they only reflect the first half of the year. I would expect that these numbers could only get worse, said Dr. Kristen Bibbins Domingo, a health equity researcher and dean at the University of California, San Francisco. This is the first time the Centers for Disease Control has reported on life expectancy from early partial records. More death certificates from that period may yet come in. It's already known that 2020 was the deadliest year in U.S. history, with deaths topping 3 million for the first time. Life expectancy is how long a baby born today can expect to live on average. In the first half of last year, that was 77.8 years for Americans overall, down 1 year from 78.8 in 2019. For males, it was 75.1 years, and for females, 80.5 years. And so now I want to go back over to here and read something to you that a doctor wrote about. SARS-CoV variants of concern in the United States, the challenges and the opportunities, was written by Rochelle P. Walensky, MD, MPH, Henry T. Wick, and Anthony Fauci. On January 10, 2020, the first genomic sequence of the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, SARS-CoV-2, isolated from a patient in Wuhan, China, was posted online. As of February 21, 468,000 sequences of SARS-CoV-2 from COVID-19 cases globally have been uploaded into publicly available databases, including more than 93,000 from individuals in the United States. SARS-CoV-2, like other RNA viruses, constantly changes through mutation, with new variants occurring over time. Generally, when new variants become more common, they do so because some selective advantage to the virus. Among the numerous SARS-CoV-2 variants that have been detected, only a very small proportion are of public health concern because they are more transmissible, cause more severe illness, or can elude the immune response that develops following infection and possibly from vaccination. In the recent months, 3 specific viral lineages reflecting variants of concern have emerged and merit close to monitoring: B.1.1.7, B1.351, and P.1. The B.1.1.7 lineage, known as 201 F01 Y.V1, or variant of concern, was first detected in the UK in December of 2020 with likely emergence during the preceding summer, September. This variant has now been identified in at least 80 countries. The first United States identified case of the B.1.1.7 variant was detected in Colorado in late December 2020. Since then, B.1.1.7 has been detected in at least 33 United States. Another variant of concern, the B.1.351, was first identified in the Republic of South Africa again in December of 2020 with likely emergence before October. This variant has been identified in at least 41 countries, including the U.S., where it was first detected in South Carolina and Maryland in late January 2021. The SARS-CoV-2 P1 lineage was identified in December 2020 in travelers from Brazil, with the first case in the United States detected in Minnesota in January of 2021. And so I'm telling you all of this to say, I keep hearing that people are continuing to be infected. People are continuing to die from this infection. We keep thinking it's the same variant. It's the same COVID-19. There have been 468,000 mutations. 3 of them are causing serious concern for people around the world. When we tell you that you're going to get your vaccine, when you say that you're going to take your vaccine, you must still wear your mask. You must still wash your hands for 20 seconds. Sing Ring Around the Rosie, sing something, do re mi. But wash your hands for more than 2 seconds under a faucet. Still take off your clothes because these variants are here in the United States. And you cannot assume that because you had the vaccine that all is well and la-di-da-di somebody, right? So tomorrow my husband and I are going to get our second vaccine. We're ready. I made the pot of Jamaican soup. I'm prepared for the responses that come from getting the second vaccine. We will let you know. I will let you know how we fare from it because I promise to be transparent with all of you as I got the vaccines, and I'm being transparent. My friend went and got it last week, and she said that she was so tired. She just kept sleeping and sleeping. Others have had headaches. Others have had fevers and the tiredness and everything that goes along with it. So we're prepared, right? But I just wanted to make you all aware that as we go through this, these variants are here, the mutations are here. They're working against, making people sicker. More people are, they're saying that we're not out of the woods and we need to pay attention. So the fact that we want to get up and get on a plane, trust me, I got a call about a trip to Puerto Rico that was going to cost me so little coinage. And I had commitments, and I looked at my husband and I said, A, we've got the commitments, and B, it would be irresponsible of me to get on a plane right now after having all this conversation with all of you about being careful. You think I don't want to get on a plane? I want to get on a plane. I am a traveling bunny. I want to get in my car and drive to the end of the earth and back. But I understand that we are when we have collective responsibility about ourselves and where we are, then we are responsible for the people next to us. And so the least amount of time that I travel, the least amount of time that I move around and possibly get infected or infect someone else, then we help to eliminate this disease. The more we travel, the more we do whatever we want to do, and go wherever we want to go, because the plane tickets are cheap and, the planes are making us, they're putting all these precautions in place. These viruses don't give a hoot, and so I'm asking you all to continue to be very, very careful as you move along. I don't even know if I'm going to have someone on to talk about the student loan debt forgiveness. I'm going to have someone on to talk about the $15 minimum wage and why we have not been able to access it right now. Madeline Dean will be back on with her son, Harry, to talk about this opioid addiction. The frigid weather is upon us. We're here in Philadelphia and it's cold and raining and sleeting and everything in between. I'm going to ask you to be careful. If your tires are bald and you know you need to have your tires changed, stay home. If someone can go out and get the things that you need to have done, have them do it on your behalf. Do not risk your life and the lives of others if you do not have to walk out of your house right now. Until noon tomorrow, we're going to be underneath this weather deluge. I want to thank Michael for getting him in his car and making it to the studio so that we can have this show every single day without fail. My brother, I appreciate you more than you will ever know. And sometimes he keeps me calm because he'll see in my face, he says, I'm picking up what the word listeners can't pick up. Breathe, sister. And thank you to Brianna, to all of you, and to the WURD listeners who are always on target. Our role is to be here for you no matter what is going on. Black History Month is coming to a close. Coming up next is Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.